Hey everybody, welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. I'm Steve.
This is Ganja Guy.
I'm Brain Grow.
I'm Yo Ryder.
Hey, I'm Kurt.
All right, and hopefully Marty's will be joining us here in a second. He was having everybody seemed to have technical issues today, just about. So I apologize for the delay in the start of the show. We do this podcast every week to promote both aquaponics and cannabis and gardening. We cover all different kinds of topics, get all different kinds of guests. Today we have Brian Grow back again. We have Kurt, who I don't think you've been on the show before, have you?
No, sir.
Okay, we're excited. Excited to have him on.
He's a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah, long time listener, first-time caller. And then Fish Ganja Guy and Yo Ryder. Yo Ryder's a gentleman I met out down in San Diego, and he's had a lot of positive impacts thanks to cannabis on his life, and he's going to talk about his experiences today. And we're just going to have a little cannabis celebration here. It's 420, and time to celebrate and talk about different general cannabis stuff. So first, why don't we start off with Yo Ryder, and you can tell us about your experiences, and I think you just started a charity as well, and you've really been doing a lot of really awesome work. So why don't you tell us about that and about yourself?
Well, what I did was once I was going through chemo, they had this stuff called Amend, and that helped you a little bit with the nausea. But when I came home and I packed myself a big bong rip, immediately the sickness went away by like almost 100%. And so once I found that out, I got really happy, and I started DJing while being super high. And so in one of my first mixes, you can hear me while I'm going through chemo. I'm DJing, and I basically challenged myself. Every round of chemo that I did a different style of music, and the Blue Dream was a big help in that area because it really got me going. And I don't know, something about Blue Dream brings the creativity out. So it's definitely one of my favorite strands. And then I also started smoking a lot more sativas to keep myself up. But the biggest positive thing about marijuana, though, is definitely the food or being hungry. I never had a problem about being hungry. I just took the indica, and that was when I used for food, and I never had any issues about the people are telling me like they're tasting like metal or something like that with the chemo, and I'm like, yummy, because I had a humongous munchies. I also found the droplets to be super helpful as well. Not just smoking, but also using just the droplets of THC. I'm not sure exactly. See, the only thing is like this happened a while back, and I got really high, so I don't remember all the details. But I think it was I think it wasn't CBD. I think it was just straight THC because my other friend was getting it for me. But
yeah, if you're getting pretty high, it was definitely not the CBD.
Yeah, I was getting really, really high. So that's definitely the case. But the interesting thing was on my last round of chemo, which was round 12, I was staying with my parents at the time, and they were helping me get through it. And there's this Amend pill, which is actually $100 a pill normally, which is the first 3 days are the hardest for chemo. It's like, luckily I've been training for this since 8th grade, because the people that have the worst hangovers with alcohol can usually deal with chemo better than anybody else. So I've been training for chemo since 8th grade. So that was a good thing. And I almost wanted to make a shirt that says chemo is bad, but my hangovers are worse. But I decided not to do that. But anyways, while I was having while I was looking for these Amend pills, my parents and me we couldn't find them anywhere. And after a while, I was like, crap, I don't know what to do. So I called my buddy up, and I was like, dude, I'm going to need every single THC thing there is. Give me the droplets, give me the, just everything. And I I don't know if it was a mix between the chemo and the THC or whatever, but that was like the first time like I got so high that I started like seeing like waves. And but the best thing is normally the amend, it hardens your stomach, so it makes it actually kind of hard to go to the bathroom. So you got to use like, you know, Miralax or whatever. When I used the marijuana, my stomach didn't get hard. I had no side effects whatsoever. And actually it was round 12, so I was like practically just skin and bones. And once it happened, it basically it was actually my best round of chemo out of all of them. And I was like, damn it, I wish I'd, you know, just smoked weed a lot more hardcore when I was going through the 3 days. And I would have been a lot better off, because that was the hardest thing was, you know, your stomach gets hard from this amend, and an amend is also $100 per pill. So that was when that was a real wake-up call, when I was like, holy shit, THC is like a real thing.
Actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
Before that, were you actually like a recreational user, or is that more like your first time using cannabis?
Yeah, I was definitely a recreational user, but I wasn't like obsessed with it. I just kind of did it like here and there with my buddies. But I was mainly more involved with drinking compared to that. So I'd say I just after I smoked though, and I was like, man, my creativity is like getting a lot better, and I really focused in on also producing music. And I noticed that when I was smoking marijuana, that also helped. And sometimes I was kind of feeling like lazy and sluggish, and then I'd take some of that green crack strand, and that got me going again. So I was after that, and I actually I'm not as much of a smoker as I'll smoke here and there, but I don't smoke daily. So it just depends on what I'm feeling. I use it actually not as a recreational thing anymore. I use it as a tool. So,
Awesome.
yeah. Any other questions?
A lot of people are in similar situations or have relatives in similar situations. Like, what advice would you have as someone that's gone through all this, as far as like where to start for resources, or what would be a good thing to start with, that kind of thing?
That's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked that one, because that's the one actually I'm trying to get out to the masses. The main thing is a couple of things. One, when you're going through chemo, don't be afraid of it. You want to like be happy that you're about to get chemo, because if you start to be like, oh no, here comes all this stuff, your body is going to tighten up, and your body's going to get the immune system is going to get stronger than it needs to, and it's going to fight the chemo instead of just letting it happen. So for me, when I was going through the chemo, I actually was like, okay, this is the stuff that's going to save my life. I'm really happy this is coming into me, instead of fearing it. And I think that is a big part of, because your body is a defensive thing. So the more that you relax it, I feel like the more it will listen to you. And so I also would suggest, I've always told my friends this, whenever they're going through chemo, or if they have to go through chemo, find a passion that you've always wanted to get. Because like I was kind of into DJing like here and there, but then once I like completely lost myself into DJing and producing music, I was very happy, and I was busy. My mind was elsewhere. Like there's at times it was kind of weird where chemo, watching television was more work for me than to being DJing and music, because that really brought me like way more pleasure. So I really would suggest that if someone is going to go through chemo, have a passion or start a new one and just become a master at it. Like if you're and then once you like, so like for example, if you're a knitter, actually that's not a good example because I don't know anything about knitting. But let's say if you're, so I'll just use my music as an example because that's the one that I know the most. Once I learned house music, I was like, okay, I got this. Then I started like, well, how do I produce music? Then I got that down. So then I started like, I always was learning. And while I was always learning, it kept my mind busy. I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. That's another thing. don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't be stressed out. Stress is the #1 killer of everything. It messes with your immune system. It messes with your brain. It's the killer of a lot of things. So can't be stressed out. Be willing to be like, realize that the chemo is like not terrible. It could be your teammate. And then also what I would suggest is, if you're a person that is coming into a room with someone that's chemo, don't ask them the first thing of like, oh, hey, how you feeling? Because then that reminds them again, oh shit, yeah, I'm feeling like this is I'm here and I'm feeling bad, or I'm blah. Instead,
can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to support what you're saying right there, because I work in the medical field, in the hospital, and I've worked on chemo units. And what you're saying as far as the person's attitude and their viewpoints, and that it definitely is evidence-based as far as people's ability to heal and the body's ability to work towards that goal of healing.
Wow.
So everything you're saying is definitely well documented, and I definitely support what you're saying as far as getting a hobby, something that'll help you get through, and trying to stay positive in every way, because if you're all down and in the dumps, body's gonna follow suit. And if you're trying to stay positive and stay on a good track, your body's gonna try and follow that.
Right.
I mean, think of like a dog. Where its nose goes, the rest of it's gonna follow.
Exactly. Your body's a computer. If you program it to think a certain way, then it'll do it. So
Totally, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So like when you walk into like someone's room and you already got them a passion, instead of asking how they're feeling, ask them about what they're doing with the passion part. Like, oh, hey, like, have you learned how to do like kicks and drums at the same time? Or just change the subject. You don't have to talk like, and I'm sorry, there's one more thing also. Don't read the side effects. I didn't read any of the side effects when I had these huge papers and almost covering my entire wall, which I still have on my wall as a reminder to be happy about life. But I had that entire huge thing, and then there's just one, and that was just amend. And I just never read any of it, because like we were just talking about with the computer, our brains, if we read a thing about side effects and be like, might cause itching after like 12 o'clock or something, around 12 o'clock, you're going to start kind of feeling itchy. And so it's like so I just didn't have my mind think about anything about that. And I just kind of just went off in my little world. Like, I didn't have too many visitors. I just kind of did my own music thing and was alone a lot of the time. But actually, I kind of feel like that was finding yourself in a way. So
yeah, like I'll only look at the dangerous side effects of things where it says call the doctor immediately. Yeah, but I mean, that's one of the reasons, like you're saying, that myself and pretty much everyone else I know in the medical field, we hate WebMD, because man, you look at that and you'll think you have some ridiculous foreign rare disease, and it's like you just have an itch on your ass.
Yeah, right.
Go home.
Okay, and in defense of WebMD, I had when I was young, I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. I got a rare, ultra rare type of pneumonia. I was the 4th or 5th case ever recorded in the United States with this particular type of pneumonia, and they misdiagnosed it as appendicitis because it was I was getting calcifications in the bottom of my lungs, so I had like abdominal pain almost. So they cut me open, and they cut me open, didn't find anything. And I came out of anesthesia to like screaming, and I was like, what the hell? I look over and my dad is going, you cut my son open and you didn't find anything? And he picked him up by his throat and put him halfway through the wall.
That's a little side effect, you know?
so like 2 more weeks went by and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And eventually this student that came in, because after they gave up on diagnosing me, they started just bringing in like med students and like random things. This is at Jefferson University down in Philly, and they ended up
figuring out. Diagnose you with WebMD, I'm gonna be so pissed.
No, it wasn't with WebMD, but my point is that it was just some student. She goes, oh, it's blah, blah, blah pneumonia. Run this test, and this test, and you'll figure it out. And the reason why you guys don't know what the hell it is because there's only been like 3 cases in the United States, and I just had a test on this last week. So, like, just because something's weird or oddball and happens to be on WebMD, like you might actually have that weird or oddball thing. Like I actually was like the 4th or 5th person to ever get that type of pneumonia. So.
Oh yeah, well, don't get me wrong. It's like if I started feeling any sort of like side effect, and I'm like, okay, well that's, then I'll like read about, like I'll call my doctor about it and everything. But like I won't read like all the shit that's gonna happen, because it's like then your body will just start to think and anything. And so I like we're going back to the computer thing. So if I did start to like all of a sudden feel like, I mean, there is one point where I almost died from chemo. But that was because I think I had a visitor and he stayed too long. And you know how your immune system goes down, because I was at a temperature of 105.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're probably on neutropenic precautions where you have a white count of less than 1, so they can't have any flowers or fruits in the room because you're going to catch something from even that.
Yeah, I totally had like
at that point.
At one point I did have a roommate almost. He lived in the same room with me. So that was, but also like I'll admit I was not the best at, like I really didn't accept that I was going through chemo. So I like still traveled, and I actually went to raves and did all the ravey stuff. I just didn't, as I figured if I'm going to die, I might as well be dying dancing. So it's that's kind of the way like I just like completely forgot that I was going through it, And yeah, I don't know. So that was kind of my thing, that I was I just completely ignored it. But so going back to that was to get a temperature of 105. This is kind of a funny story that I was like shivering and I was like, ugh, and this person came over to me and she asked me what my religious preference was. And I was shivering. I was like, Google. And they were like, what? And I was like, I don't know. I just never accepted that I was, so I never let my brain, so I was just joking around, even though I didn't quite realize I was on the brink of death. I was just kind of still joking my whole way through. And then this was actually when I was supposed to have my comeback party. So I was more disappointed in that than anything else. And, but, I came back to, and that was actually, once I came back from that, I actually made a mix called This Is War. And then I started really realizing that like I am dealing with something that's hardcore. So I actually did not go out anymore after that happened. I started taking it more seriously. But I did have somebody living with me for a little bit, and he was helping me, just helping with the DJ stuff and promoting and all of that, because I was already planning my comeback party. So yeah.
Awesome. Who's moving tools?
Somebody's sawing something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's cool. Can you just?
I hope it's sawing.
It's okay.
Okay.
We know you're
I wonder what he's doing. It's like.
We'll hope it's sawing. But yeah, I guess that kind of, I think I've covered. Do you guys have any other questions?
Do we have any questions from chat for him?
How long have you been cancer free? Or are you still undergoing?
Since 2000, I happened in 2010. I was done in 2011. So,
Congrats.
yeah. So, like I said before, some people like with the whole chemo thing, they really look at it badly. But I mean, here I am, So, I am very curious though about CBD though.
I gotta log off for 1 second. I'll be right back, guys.
Okay. I'll take some chat questions if needed.
Yeah, I was trying to. Do you have any questions, EC and whoever else is in here? Let's see. Does anybody in chat have any questions on the live feed? Sometimes it takes a second to update.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, Aquaponic Dumme? For those of you, welcome to the show. For those of you who don't know, Aquaponic Dumme is one of the biggest supporters of the show, probably the biggest in terms of actual products and stuff. He gives away products pretty regularly for the show and in chat and stuff like that. And he's really goes out of his way to help people and has one of the dopest aquaponic cannabis setups that I've seen for sure.
Well, I love the show and I love being here.
All right.
Meanwhile, Yo Rider's over there trashing his car.
I'm not trashing, man. That wasn't even me. I'm not making any noise at all.
What So you just started a charity, Yo Writer?
Yeah, I did for a little bit. I had a company called RageForReason.com. I was starting that also up while I was going through chemo, and we rented out Spin, and I got some big DJs, and one of them now is on tour with, I mean, they've been all over. But I knew I got them when they were not quite big yet, and then now they're big. They're called Vendetta. They've been at like Tomorrowland and all those other places, and I got them early, so it was really cool that I brought them all in, and then whatever I made, we gave it to Rady's Children's Hospital. So I raised $500. I was planning hopefully to do a lot more than that, but there was a very small amount of people that came through, actually, to be honest. So then I kind of took some steps back and realized that I need to become a bigger company, and then I can make a bigger difference. So that's kind of what I want.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, so when you were using cannabis for your stuff, you said you were using both flower and oil, or do you want to talk more about what different products work for you best and things like that?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. I mean, maybe they have better tasting and stuff now, but that tasted like tar, molasses, and a little bit of car oil all in one. It did not taste good at all. So I only had, like, overall in my chemo experience, I think I only drank maybe about 5 or 6 drops because I just really hated it. But I did bong rips compared to like pipe hits. I don't know. I'll admit though too, I probably shouldn't, but I also took bong rips right before I drove home, because I didn't have anybody pick me up or whatever. Like I just drove myself. I kind of.
So allegedly you did this.
Yeah, allegedly. Yeah. So,
yeah, allegedly.
Yeah. But actually, I will say, though, a little shout out to Revolution. I listened to Revolution every time I drove myself home as like a positive way to, and then like I also was getting really pumped up because I'm like, oh, I'm going to play a lot of music this weekend. Like, so it's just like I always had something to look forward to, I guess, too. So maybe that's a good way to help out with going through the process, is the passion is also set yourself like certain goals.
Better your attitude going into it, the better your outcome's going to be, probably.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. So that's why that's pretty much, I've given the same advice pretty much to every single person. I've really never really switched it up, and they've all told me that they've done really well with it. So
nice.
Yes, yeah.
That really shows how powerful the placebo effect is. Not necessarily that you did the placebo effect, but just having that positive mindset. And what you were talking about, reading the side effects of the chemo, like that just gets in your head and makes you feel a certain way. So I mean, that's awesome, man. Your positivity is incredible.
Oh, thank you. And actually, I forgot to mention this part. I'm in a documentary called the Heartbeat Documentary.com or whatever, and it's about how music heals the body. And so my buddy, he's gotten some really big people involved. And let's see, I'm trying to think of some people. Like, he's got Mikey Lyon. He's got Lee Reynolds. I think he was talking about DJ Dan as well. And Thievery Corporation is going to be there on this one. And it's like, also he goes, he's going to like, this is directed by Mike Bodie, and he goes all the way like to where those, I don't even know what they're called. I'm a hippie in training. There's little things that they hit and goes dong, and not a gong, but like something much smaller. But they have vibrations all around when you're laying down. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sort of.
I think it's called a hang drum.
No, I love those things. It's not a hang drum. It's like I experienced it in LIB, where you lay down and you're surrounded by metal, and then they make certain noises that have the whole metal and the vibrations and everything go all over your body.
Well, Steve's the closest thing we have to a hippie, so I think what he said would probably be right.
Yeah, no, I've drummed in a hang drum. My roommate has one, so I know it's not that.
Was it like a singing bowl or something like that, where they just kind of hit the rim?
No, but you're surrounded by metal though too. So there's like a
Crazy.
whole like fence around you. That's all these metal things. And then so you lay down in it, and then they have like, I'd say it's closer to a gong than anything else, to be honest. But anyway, so this documentary is about how people pulled through music. A lot, like one of them, like the director, he had a helicopter crash and he broke his back and all this stuff. And he said that the music, when he went to music festivals and kind of went out there, like really healed him. And multiple people say that, DJs that went through crazy stuff like I did, they all said like the music kind of pulled them out of it. So hobby, if you have a passion, definitely follow that. But if you really have any sort of maybe interest in music, I would go that direction for at least the healing process part. So yeah, Heartbeat documentary. It actually has even Pumpkin in it as well. So rest in peace, buddy.
What kind of music has the positive effects?
I'm all over the place with music. So, but a lot of people are. There's a lot of deep house DJs in this one. Kind of like the more tribal feel to it. Like Desert Hearts and those kind of guys, because it's like that deep tech house. It's like you all just start to go in the same motion and everything. But for me, I'm a little different. I mean, I can't be called the Yo Writer if I'm playing nothing but house music. I gotta throw in some 90s hip hop that meets bass music and all that kind of stuff. But I like my bass music, but I also like house music. I just like it all, And I did 12 rounds of chemo, so that means I did 12 different kinds of music. So now I fell in love with all those 12 different kinds of music. So, but yeah, I'd say mostly what my buddy from when he survived the helicopter crash and all of that, he said it was like the deep house music, and he was just up for a long time, and just kind of the body just, it heals you somehow. So I don't know, I think it's also has to do with pure happiness as well. So between those two combinations, I think that's what also really helps the healing process.
Well, I'm sure if you're really into music like you are, being a professional, that's your stuff. So you really get into it.
Yeah, well, actually, to tell you the truth, I was not really into it. I was more into the party scene, and I was a club promoter, and I just kind of DJ for here and there because I became all my friends told me to do it because I always made these playlists that were like 6 hours long, and they were doing this. And people were like, why aren't you a DJ? And I'm like, because I want to party. But after nothing would have stopped me from partying except for, I believe, the chemo was the only thing that slowed me down. And then a new side of me was born, basically, I'd have to say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what
Also,
is there any particular symptoms or like unpleasantries that you found the cannabis helped with a lot, for people that are maybe on chemo that are have considered it, but maybe need more insight as to why they should consider it further?
Definitely the stomach one was the big one, because like I said, the amend, when you're feeling nauseous, it hardens your stomach. So then you have to figure out where you're at with the Miralax and everything like that. But like I said, the last round of chemo, I just smoked a shit ton of weed where I was pretty much hallucinating, but it got me through it, and it was one of my best rounds of chemo. So, but I'm sure, honestly, there's so many different types of cancer, and there's so many different places, there's so many different side effects. But for me, the food was a lot better when you're high. And so I definitely ate. I never had a problem with not eating. And also, when you need to sleep, you take the indica and you go down. And then if you need to exercise to get your body up and going, you smoke the sativa to get yourself outside. So all those kind of things.
Awesome. Do you have you grown at all, or done
No.
any of your own?
I've never really grown my own. A lot of my friends were really into all that stuff, so I just kind of hung out with them and everything. I was kind of like the party guy, so like my friends would be the stoner guys, and I would bring the party to them, kind of thing. And so like I didn't really care about learning all that stuff. Because I knew it was eventually. I just had a feeling that marijuana was going to get legalized and everything, so I was like, I don't care about it. And also I hate math, so between those two things, yeah, I never got around to growing.
Awesome. Well, do you have any questions for anyone on the show, or
how long have for the hydroponics? Is that how you pronounce it?
We do aquaponics. We do with the fish waste and all. Yeah.
I actually randomly have one of those in my backyard, and so one of my other roommates is messing with that. So
awesome.
Yeah, you should come check it out.
Absolutely.
So how long has that been invented? Is that a newer thing, or has that been around for a long time?
So it depends on what your definition of aquaponics is. If you're talking strictly like wicking beds, that goes back about 3,000 years to the Mexico City. They had the Chinampas, where they took giant trees and they made palisade walls inside this shallow lake, and they dredged the bottom of the lake and put the mud and the really rich soil from the bottom of the lake into the in these mounds that were walled off in these palisades, and they plant their gardens on top of it, and doesn't need to be watered because the lake water comes in through the soil. And those have been around an extremely long time. And that's kind of the first instance of aquaponics. But in the more modern sense, was it 1979 they founded the UVI research facility over in the University of Virgin Islands. And then was it Dr. Ricosi and Dr. Sandoval, as well as Charlie Schultz and a couple of others, founded that. Well, they didn't. Charlie Schultz joined it slightly after, but they kind of pioneered the wider commercial aspect of aquaponics in general. Then after that, it kind of became slowly more commercialized. It wasn't really popular until about the 90s or early 2000s, and then it really kind of took off.
So, Steve, why would you talk Yo Rider into growing aquaponics if you were to want to start growing versus a soil method or something like that?
Sure. So, reasons to do aquaponics before
it's better.
Yeah, for one, it tastes better. Anyone in in fact, pretty much everyone except for Yo Rider in here has grown aquaponics. Except I'm not sure about Kurt, but I know definitely Aquaponic Dumme and Brian Grow and Fish Ganja Guy. All of us have grown, and I mean it's a night and day difference in flavor. In 90%
so smooth
of the cases. Yep. So, and that makes a world of difference. Hey, Marty's finally back. That really makes a difference. You also use significant. Oh, it's never mind. It's Kurt. I thought that was Marty. So you end up with a much better flavor. Use a lot less water. It's cheaper per run because fish food is cheaper than hydroponic nutrients, and you only need to supplement between 25 and 35-ish plus minus % of the nutrients that you would in a normal hydro or soil system, because the fish waste is generating so much. You also are running an active organic system, so you have so many microbes in there that you have lower chance of pathogens taking over, like E. coli, salmonella, Pythium, and other things that can be harmful to either your plants or yourself, because of the how many microbes you have in the system. Through sheer competition, it makes it very hard for anything to colonize in a high enough percentage that will wipe everything out. You can also use stuff like lactobacillus ferments to boost your trichoderma if you do happen to have something like that will kind of consume everything. That can definitely cause issues, or not cause issues, but it's another advantage to aquaponics that the plants, through studies done at University of Hawaii and University of Wisconsin and University of Arizona, all three universities have shown that the plants filter the water at the root zone, and aquaponic systems, because of high competition with other microbes in the system, University of Hawaii, for instance, introduced a bunch of pathogens into the system and release them into the water. And it showed that through both competition for food and then being consumed by other beneficial microbes, as well as the filtration system in the plant roots itself, prevented any of those pathogens from getting into the plant tissue or the fish tissue. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely. I just, I've heard the podcast multiple times and heard you say it multiple times, but sure. I just like that positive reinforcement for new listeners and myself,
Sure. It also uses way less water. It uses 5 to 10% of the water. So.
Yeah, it uses 5 to 10% of the water that you'd be using for a soil grow, but also way less than you would be for a hydroponic, because hydro, you got to dump that reservoir every now and then, but you're never doing that with aquaponics unless you have to do like a emergency water change. But even then, you could save that water and just reuse it later.
Yep, most of the time.
9 times out of 10. And I had a question on my channel about 2 weeks ago that I told the person that we'd probably talk about it on this show, if you don't mind, Steve. It's actually a pretty good one. We haven't talked about it on this podcast before. But when it comes to the planter, the bed that we put the plants in, or the hydrogen media, they're asking about the size, like the depth, and what we would recommend. And I said, well, that can depend on a bunch of factors, such as what you're growing, and also the environment you're growing in, the room you're growing in, what you're planning on doing with it. But I figured we could discuss some of the different aspects of it here too, because I know, like, with the dual root zone, with how I saw your setup before and how I'm doing some of mine, there is no hydrogen media in the bed, and it can be a shallower bed. But a lot of people might say do like a 1 foot deep, so you can do those 3 zones. I was wondering if you want to touch on that.
What do you mean by 3 zones?
Well, like when I was learning originally, just from Murray Hallam's DVDs, talks about you have the dry zone at the top, you have the aquaponic zone in the middle, and then you have that sludgy zone down at the bottom. And by having the 12 inches of bed, you can really allow for that.
So the sludgy zone at the bottom is only there if you don't have really good filtration. That's probably one of the things that I would disagree with Murray Hallam with, at least in that one aspect. The other thing is, if you have like a good amount of like black worms or something like that, it can definitely prevent that from being an issue at all and help reduce issues.
What about why black worms as opposed to like red wigglers or the composting worms?
Sure. So red wigglers and composting worms are awesome, but they're huge, and they also don't like anaerobic areas, whereas the black worms love to seek out those anaerobic areas, break it down, liquefy that, bring oxygen in there, and keep that bottom of your media beds from getting clogged up or anything like that.
Nice.
And they really make a really good big difference, especially if you're doing like straight media beds and you don't have a whole lot of filtration, or it's a smaller system, or you're doing lots of smaller tropical fish, because those worms will end up floating through the system and end up as fish food and everything else. But they're really good at cleaning, and especially getting into those anaerobic zones that normally other microbes wouldn't get into.
Yeah. So what would you recommend as far as, say, depth on a grow bed?
So the grow beds, I still like using the 12-inch, standard grow beds, but you could do as low as 6 or 7 inches, or 8, maybe even, 8 inches would probably be the lowest I would do. But as far as standpipe height, I do like 4.5, 5 inches, and let that, the bottom 5 inches or so be the flood and drain.
Okay, and then you've got like 2 inches of dry hydrogen layer on top.
No, well, yeah, about an inch or so, and then if you watch the video, I have a how-to video on my channel about how to do the dual root zone stuff, and it shows you how to pull the bell siphon, and you can put your media in and make sure that the top layer is dry after a little while, so that you have the depth set right, and it helps a lot.
Nice, I didn't know you had that video. Right on.
Yep, it's under, if you go to the playlists on my channel, it's under how to, or if you just go to all the videos on my channel, it's one of the earlier ones. So,
Groovy, I'll make sure to link that guy over to it.
Sure, and and then put your burlap layer on, and then put your soil layer on top. I like to do about a 50% soil to flood and drain, is kind of. I used to do a little bit shallower soil layer, but I found it works really well.
Yeah.
Your writer got disconnected. He's having some problems, so I'm gonna take 3 seconds to try and get him connected again. But so why don't you talk about the craziness that you've had going on?
Well, let's see. So recently, what's been going on? I'd say the only craziness since the DGC Cup. Today, I got notified that the power in my neighborhood was out starting around 11:30 this morning, and it's not going to be on again until about 3 a.m. Tomorrow morning. Excuse me. So had to oxygenate the fish tanks in the plural for a little bit, and go out and buy a generator so that way I can at least make sure that the medical garden is going all right and all the fish in there will be safe. And then I've got somebody over at the garden putting in some hydrogen peroxide dosings into the tanks to help keep it oxygenated up until like an hour or so before the power goes back on. So if anybody's wondering about that, it's something Steve taught me about a long time ago, where for every 100 gallons of water in your reservoir for the fish tank, you use 1 shot glass full or 1 ounce of store grade, not like the crazy 40% food or like commercial grade hydrogen peroxide, but just level 4% hydrogen peroxide you get at the store. And you dump that into, see, for every 100 gallons, it's 1 shot glass or 1 ounce every 90 minutes. Is around how you want to space it, and that'll provide some oxygenation in the water for the fish, so you can keep them going until your power gets back on. And got that generator going just in time because one of my fish was about to die. It was already floating, but it's swimming again.
If you ever run into that situation, your rider's still having sound problems, unfortunately. He got disconnected and all of a sudden he's having issues, but we very much appreciate having him on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're ever wondering what to dose for your system, there's plenty of reef tank and aquarium websites that have pretty good calculators for peroxide, and you can just enter in your gallonage of your aquaponic system and do it that way, and it works real well. So you have anything else going on, or do you want to talk about the cup?
Oh my god, the cup was fantastic.
Hell yeah.
I definitely had a good time. I definitely got lit. I think Van Ripster did a great job with his brandy wine. It smelled like the Kid Cereal Tricks dipped in blueberries. It was just a beautiful strain all around. He definitely deserved the win on that. But yeah, it was great hanging out with everyone in the DGC. I'm glad you finally got to meet JR in person and a few other people. But yeah, it was definitely a good experience. It was a rough ass road trip from California, but it was I'm not kidding, man. From Thursday to Tuesday, I put in 2,500 miles. But yeah, it was a great time. Definitely enjoyed spending the time with Scotty and Brett and the rest of the crew.
Awesome.
And then how'd you like the cup? Anything stand out to you?
I had an absolute blast. That was honestly my favorite cannabis event I've ever been to. The event was run really well. Really, really awesome people. It was nice to meet a whole bunch of cool people that I had met and talked to, online through the DGC. The strains were awesome. Like hanging out and just getting to know everyone that I'd only spoken to online has been a lot of fun, and just the whole thing has just been an absolute blast.
I think one of my favorite things of that whole night was just looking over my shoulder while I was sitting on the couch and seeing you standing there zoning out, just destroying a 2-liter of Sprite.
Yeah. So let me explain that. So Dungeon Vault Genetics they're actually the guys that their strain's the one that won it, the Brandywine. I actually have some seeds from that, and I might end up doing a giveaway of like maybe 1 or 2 seeds for the guy, for the show. We have a couple other people that are interested in doing some giveaways here, so we got some more coming up. But I might end up doing that later on. But that guy brought this stuff, and it was some kind of cannabis isolate that was where they take the isolate and then recombine it into a mixture, and then they somehow culture or grow the crystals artificially after that using a plant-based base, where they use the plant chemicals that are isolated and then use it to continue growing the crystals. And that was the highest I have ever been off of a dab or a single hit of anything. Like, I just was absolutely seeing stars. And yeah, it was just totally crazy.
Yeah, that I was looking over. I was like, I think we lost Steve.
No, I'm sorry. I was just. But Yo Rider texted me or sent me.
Oh no, I'm saying when I saw you that night, I was like,
oh
I
yeah,
think Steve's off the planet at this point.
Yeah, well, not as much as some of the other people that were there. There was 1 or 2 people there that were definitely the highest they've ever been before, which was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, we saw some good dancers there that night too.
Oh yeah. But if you guys, I'm gonna post a bunch of content on my YouTube channel. If you guys are on the Facebook group, you've already seen a little bit of it. But I got a bunch of cool content from the cup. Did a bunch of walk-arounds, showed a bunch of the strains. Got a bunch of really awesome people for us to get on the show. They got a chance to sit down and talk to in person. They're going to be joining us. We got Dax Tractor is going to be joining us. Soil Secrets. Hold on, I'm going through my thing here. Optic Foliar we're going to have on the show soon.
I was going to say, if you didn't corner Dinesh, then you missed out.
I know.
Nice guy.
That's awesome. And Quest Humidifiers is going to talk about humidifying and dehumidifying with us here in the next couple of weeks. We just got to work out who's going to be on what date. And then I have a pretty cool guest, a guy who works a lot with education and aquaponics. It'll be a little bit different. Not so much weed, that least portion of the episode, but that'll be really cool to talk about, aquaponics and education. So, Aquaponic, or Kurt, why don't you tell us about your grow and the stuff that you've been up to and your experiences, if you're there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you about it. Well, let's see, back in like 2011, I was looking to get into the military and stuff like that. I was smoking all the time. Got in the military and, went over to the sandbox a few times, came back with a little more problems than I started with. And so once I got out, I turned to cannabis and to help me with anxiety and PTSD. And man, it's great. It's great. I started growing myself, and I'm not good at it. I've hardly gotten anything accomplished as far as that goes. But, I'm learning. And man, it's just been a great experience. It's just what was it? Yo, I forget his last part of that, but Yo, he was talking about his passion and stuff like that, trying to find something. And it's not, I don't have cancer or anything that crazy, but you find the thing that calms you down. It just kind of brings you peace, and gardening and smoking has been it for me.
Well, just to comment on that real quick, it doesn't have to be cancer or something really intense. I mean, if it helps you, it helps you. That's what's really important. And even just the gardening aspect, like you're saying, is just zen as hell. And if, all of us are still learning, you don't have to worry about being a new grower or anything. One thing I would recommend if you really want to step up a little bit is, if you haven't already started, listen to the Dude Grows show. Start on like episode 2, dude. You'll just power through them like a Netflix marathon.
Yeah,
but
I've been in that. That's where I found you first, Ganja. Was with the DGC.
Oh, right.
Yeah. No, I'm all up in the YouTube growing community here. I can show you my system real quick.
Yeah,
let's do that. Hold on, let Make sure
So
the
I'm
camera.
kind of running a chop system right now. I don't know how much you're seeing, and it's a mess in here. Let's see. Let me pull up my camera here so I can see better. Can you see me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so here I just got some hydro buckets that I kind of pieced together.
Those are weird pot leaves.
Yeah, those are kale. That's basil. And there's some of my clones there. I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't have really good luck with those, but there's my mother plant. It's called the Lucid Ripper. It's Jack the Ripper cross. It's a little local legend in Washington here. So we'll see if that gains any traction. I don't know if you're seeing anything. Can't really. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
Cool. And
That
then,
was beautiful.
Yeah. I'm kind of trying to do a little no-till as well. I like the organic stuff, and honestly, I'm kind of reluctant to spend money on the hobby so much. I've got a family and stuff like that, and it's recreational out here too, so I can buy when I need it and stuff. So I try not to spend so much money, because me and the family have other goals and things like that, and that's where aquaponics and like no-till comes in, I think. Because you really don't have to invest all that much money. You just have to invest the time and research and stuff like that. And luckily, people like you guys putting out this podcast and all this free information, man, I'm able to do this stuff at home.
Awesome.
Well, shit, maybe we should start charging. Steve, we got to talk.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm grandfathered in.
So do you want to talk about how has cannabis helped you therapeutically, especially coming back from the war?
Yeah, I did 2, I guess, smaller tours in Afghanistan. And I just want to preface this all first. Lots of people went through a harder struggle than I did, sacrificed a lot more than I did. And when I entered the war in 2012, through 2014, I went over twice, did 6 months apiece, so that's not that bad. I'm sure you've heard worse, things like that. But one of the problems, I think, is some of the guys who are highly trained, like, your special operations community, they get a lot of training that helps them.
What is that?
That's brain drought.
Brian, I'll mute him.
Oh shit, my bad, guy.
It's cool. Yeah, so I want to preface first, or where was I? I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, so I went over there twice, and the guys, like I said, in the special operations community, they get a lot of training, and that wasn't me. I was a, kind of bottom tier kind of guy. I just got the minimal training. I had some really good NCOs and things like that who taught me and it helped me with that, but that actual hardcore training, you don't get. And also with my job, not everyone's kicking indoors and, getting the bad guys. There's cooks and there's mechanics and there's guys, fobbits they call us, that we just chill out on the fob. My first deployment was just on the fob. And what I'm getting at here is when you don't get to leave the fob, the base, and go pursue your enemy, go after them, go get them. It changes the dynamic, because basically I was just sitting on a fob and they were just lobbing in bombs at us, you know what I mean? Or mortars and indirect fire and artillery shells and rockets and things like that. And eventually you kind of feel like a caged animal, someone's running, jingling the bars on your cage, just rattling you all the time. And you really get on edge, and I found myself, once I got back, I was after the second deployment, I got to come home early to see the birth of my daughter, which was awesome. And I stayed there, and it was kind of a whirlwind. And I came back from that deployment, but it probably took me 6 months to actually come back from Afghanistan. Like, you leave so much of yourself there, you sacrifice so much. and I just wasn't present. And once I got out of the Army, and and I was able to consume cannabis and stuff, and I just did it for fun, because it's legal out here in Washington. And then I was like, wow, I'm calm. I'm not flying off the handle. I'm not, yelling at my wife for no reason. I'm not, losing my temper with my, 2-year-old daughter and stuff, or she was much younger at the time. I'm not losing my temper anymore. And it just gives me that patience to reevaluate and put yourself where you should be. Because your mind, I think Yo was saying it too, your mind will keep you stagnant. And if you can't remove yourself from the situation and look at it at what it really is, it's tough. And the cannabis has allowed me to do that. So hope that wasn't too long-winded.
No, not at all. There's people out there, other vets and stuff like that, I've heard that it helps, and it's nice to hear from, firsthand from someone else that's just like them.
Yeah, and before I got into the Army as well, I consumed a lot, and it was kind of just recreational and stuff. But I found myself, I think I had anxiety before the Army, and I found that really helped me out, and like everything just got compounded in the Army, and but man, it's such an incredible tool, the cannabis, such an incredible tool.
Awesome. Do you have any advice for other vets that are looking to reach out or looking for to try cannabis or anything like that? I know there's Weed for Warriors and Grow for Vets, but do you have any personal recommendations on how to get started?
Nothing like that. Like I said, it's very easy accessed for me here as far as getting a hold of the stuff. But I would just, as far as advice goes for vets, and just as a general thing, not even with cannabis, I say that again.
What was that? I don't know who that was.
Yeah. Okay. But the biggest thing is I wanted to get out of the Army. I was done with it. I don't want to go in that sandbox and do the bidding of other people, what I mean, and risk my life and things like that. But you do leave a brotherhood that just everyone there accepts you for who you are. Every single person. You might have, and I mean, I can't speak for everyone, of course, but you might have a handful of friends that you could tell anything to and accept you for who you really are. And in the Army, I found out it was the majority of people are like that, because they might not be your friend on the outside, but they are your brothers, they are your sisters, and they've got your back no matter what. And that's really hard to, once you get out of the Army, that's hard, or the military, it's hard. It was very hard for me not having that camaraderie anymore. But I was usually pretty closed off though when I would go home from the Army. It was just like, I hung out with you guys all day. I don't need to hang out with you afterwards. A few events here and there. But, so I was in that funk and I wasn't reaching out to anybody and, my brothers and things like that. And I started doing it, after I, found cannabis. I was like, man, I really just need to go talk to those guys. And, it's just, that's my advice to the veterans, find a passion, and then also don't lose touch with those brothers and sisters that you made. They're there for life. That's my advice.
Awesome. So what have you found have been like the challenges that you've run into growing with aquaponic cannabis?
My biggest struggle with cannabis growing has really just been my environment. Like I said, I didn't want to invest in a whole bunch of money. And one of my good buddies from the Army, I'm not going to say his name here, but or Joey, I can say his first name, I guess. He really hooked me up. He's an experienced grower, and he had a bunch of equipment laying around that he wasn't using, and he got it to me. Got me a 600 watt HPS, and then an 8x8 tent, an enormous tent, so I can shove a aquaponic system in it. And now, that's been going on for about a month or two now. So I'm just kind of finally catching my stride as far as being able to have such a, good growing environment now.
Awesome. Is there any questions that you have or advice that you would have for new growers doing aquaponic cannabis?
Yeah, my advice would to definitely go invest in the barrels, I would say. I've been trying to do buckets and things like how Marty first started out, and he was the first channel I started watching. I did the buckets and things like that, but really I think what you need is the flood and drain beds, and I'll be moving into that soon. I think that would probably be the easiest way to grow at first, but man, I'm so hooked on the YouTube and stuff like that, and Aquaponic Dumme, man, those sprayers are awesome. And right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm hooking up some of those sprayers with some PVC and stuff. Yeah, I'm enjoying my 420, listening to the podcast and getting to talk to you guys. And I mean, this is my jam right here. I love this.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, Dumme does have it going on, that's for sure.
Hey guys, that's what you just cued in there. That's Roger Latewood. He's a buddy of mine. He was very curious about the show, and I don't know if he's got a minute here. I think he's kind of moving around. You got a minute to pop in?
Yeah, if it's not interrupting the speaker, I'm cooking dinner for the old lady. We're separated, and she lives next door. We got two places. And then I got involved in this. I was talking with Aquaponic Dumme, and he said he was, that Steve had asked him to get in this. And I said, man, I want to be there. I want to check everybody out. It's 420. I got nothing to do. And so I got friends that I lost in the war, and, I had, but I don't do aquaponics. I'm a hydroponic, commercial hydroponic grower and USDA certified grower in South Carolina. And I've been teaching since 2005, mentoring new growers and growers on starting at cannabis.com. I was a moderator at cannabis.com from 2005 to 2007. I worked with Closet King, that then turned into howsitgoinged.com, a seed bank out of Vancouver with Don Boffin. And then I went with, of course, my mentor for cannabis was Xandor. I don't know if any of y'all ever heard of Xandor. But we had the growreport.com. It was the official website for the dopefiend.co.uk podcast network, interesting enough. And now I'm an admin and moderator and teacher at ilovegrowingmarijuana.com. That's owned by Robert Bergen. And I just love this, man. Dumme's the first guy that I ever found that actually had a aquaponic system I thought could work. I kind of gave up on it, but I am cooking old lady dinner. I want to talk with y'all some more, but y'all get back to your aquaponics, and thanks for the invite and having me, and thanks, Dumme, for the introduction.
Well, we'd love to have you keep talking once you're done your cooking step there. We can switch back over.
Yeah, I'll be running it over in a few minutes, and I'm a professional guitar player too. I think the first who was it? Was it Steve? Well, I mean, not Steve. Who was the first speaker?
Yo Ryder. Yo Ryder.
Yeah, I've been playing guitar since I was 14, and I'm 60. So I'm an old man. But y'all go ahead. Let me finish dinner, and I'll be jumping in. I love to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, Roger Latewood's a good friend of mine. He's like I said, I met him, and we kind of hit it off. So I figured I'd be the one to introduce him here. But I
absolutely.
I actually hope he talks about his what he's got going on when he gets back.
Well, I'll give you a brief hint what we're going to talk to you about later. We got veterans here. We're opening up a new live chat. It's going to be a paid chat for, like a call-in, crisis calling in, and have a real-time grower talk to you and give you advice, an expert grower give you advice. I don't know if it'll fly or not, but what I'm doing is I'm giving away and donating a department for disabled and veterans disabled and with PTSD. And I'm going to let it be manned by other veterans so they can talk and hook up with their brotherhood, whichever service they were in, whether it be Air Force, Marines, Army, Navy, whatever. We're going to provide a free chat area for veterans to get together and have support. So I thought that might interest the last speaker since he's a warrior. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sounds awesome, man. Keep me posted.
Thank you for both of you guys for defending us.
Proud to do it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Thanks for your service too. Yes, I wanted to say that.
Thank you too, sir.
Anyway, I'm finishing dinner and running next door. I'll be back in a few minutes.
All righty, buddy.
I've got the old lady's plate ready now. I can take it over to her and then I can chill out.
So, Kurt, did you have anything else that you wanted to touch on with your grow or anything else in that regard?
Actually, I'd like to ask you a question, Steve.
Sure.
I've got some. I'm not flowering yet, or actually, I don't even have any cannabis in the system yet. I just got some kale and basil. What you can dose the system with langbonite, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Langbonite is potassium magnesium sulfate, for those of you that don't know what it is.
And how would I have some down to earth langbonite, and how much would I dose that to my system?
Yeah, Steve, how much langbonite's okay?
John's been smashing me up for this thing. I actually need to fire up my laptop, it took me a while to find. And I'll get that. If you guys, I'll put it in the comments of this episode, since I don't have the answer off the top of my head.
Okay.
I need to. What happens is, on my laptop I have a much more advanced version of my nutrient calculator that has way more nutrient entries, and the one that's on my desktop doesn't have that, and I just need to merge the data tables so that I have it on there. So I actually have my. If you give me, I'll try to get it for the end of the episode. I'll see if I can get my laptop fired up.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. If not, I'll bug you on the Facebook page.
Yeah, I know. John's gonna kill me if I don't get it to him by the end of the night, so don't you worry.
Oh, Steve, I almost forgot. I have a question for you. How
Yeah.
much langbonite should I be dosing?
Yeah, Fish Ganja Guy is gonna kill me too. I got like multiple people on my ass about langbonite. It's kind of funny. So yeah, hold on. As we speak, I'm unpacking my laptop. So give me a few fires up. I'll have an answer for you.
I got a question for you guys. I was looking online at new, because obviously with low pressure aeroponics, I don't know if you guys have ever run it or your history, but I've been looking for a new type of sprinkler that doesn't clog, and I was looking at clogless sprinklers. They look like a corkscrew. I don't know if you guys have ever used them. Any of you guys familiar with them?
I have never used them. No.
I'm really curious about them because snails are always a serious issue with my system.
Have you tried using loaches or freshwater pufferfish? Or there's a couple of different things that really love to eat those guys. Mollies are another one that'll eat your snails pretty well.
Well, the trout, any of the snails that are in the tank itself, the trout pretty much take care of. It's just all the plumbing involved there where the fish aren't, and that's where they're getting me. My aero chambers, I use culvert, and the aero chambers are just loaded with all sorts of them.
So the other option you can try is assassin snails, because they'll go through and they'll murder a whole bunch of your snails, and they'll wipe out a huge percentage of your population. That can be another really good option.
Okay, I didn't think of it. Would they? Do they breed on wets like the same as regular snails, or?
So they do, but they only have between 10 and 20 babies at a time, so they don't end up rapidly over-replicating. And then once they kill off your pond snail population, they'll start killing each other until there's only one, like Highlander style.
Yeah. All right. That's I didn't think about that, but that's cool. As long as, like I said, as long as they can populate through the system, I'm just.
Absolutely. They're pretty cool. So they have a poison tooth. They're similar to like a cone snail in that regard. And you'll see them slowly cruise over to one of the pond snails, and then they'll stab it. and then the snail they stabbed will run across the glass as fast as he can, and then he gets slower and slower and slower, and he goes from being brown to like more of a dark red, brown red, and just slowly gets darker and darker color, and then he just stops and falls to the bottom, and then the snail goes and eats him. Just be mindful, if you're doing a large amount of like cherry shrimp or other ornamental, very small ornamental shrimp, sometimes they'll pick them off after they molt, but they won't hurt one that's fully molted generally. But if they're starving, they will go after your shrimp. I
actually don't have any shrimp right now, but
what if you have a mantis shrimp?
Mantis shrimp are only in salt water, but you got to be careful with them. They can actually break the bone inside your finger and not damage the outside when they do that punch, because
those things are savage, dude.
It creates a bubble, and then the bubble collapses, and it makes like a tiny little sonic boom underwater, which from that bubble collapsing on itself, and it basically that's how they crack the clam shells and crab shells and stuff. It's super
those
dope.
things are one of the coolest animals on the planet.
Yeah, they have the most evolved eye. They can see well into the UV spectrum and the IR spectrum, and a whole bunch. Like, they can see almost double the amount of light spectrum that we can.
I wonder how they'd feel about my Black Dog and Spectrum King study.
But yeah, they're super cool. There's two different kinds of mantis shrimp. I used to work in aquarium trade. There's two different kinds of mantis shrimp. There's spearers and punchers. The punchers are the ones that do the cracking, the shell cracking, and the spears are fish spears that kind of have pointy ends of their claws, and they'll just stab fish clean through and kill them that way.
Damn.
But the spears can strip the meat off your finger too, like completely off, and just have like bone left. I've seen pictures of other people that got hit, and I've had my fingers cracked by a couple of crackers, like little baby ones that I didn't know snuck in on coral. That shit hurts, man. That's freshwater.
Little bastards.
Seriously. I've experienced some gnarly ass shit in freshwater. We had a flesh-eating bacteria one time at the one place I worked at from some wild Lake Victorian cichlids. And any fish you put in there would like dissolve into like the flesh would start falling off and stuff after about 2 or 3 days. And like, we were afraid to even put our hands in there. We ended up bleaching the system, drying it out, bleaching it again, and then that didn't work. So that we ended up taking it and filling it with pool grade peroxide. And running it at like 4 times the normal peroxide level, and that seemed to kill it. So
fuck that.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty gnarly shit in fish world.
Hey Steve, I have a question. I think you mentioned at one point in time that that freshwater stingrays, they don't secrete ammonia, they secrete urea. Have you learned any, or could you expand on that a little further? Or are there any other animals that do that?
Only sharks and rays, just that family.
Hey, what about those fairy shrimp? Don't they secrete the urea too?
Fairy shrimp, yeah. The shrimps also secrete urea, but it's so little that like again, in order to equal like an inch of fish, you need like almost 200 cherry shrimp. Or crystal shrimp or something like that, or 85 crayfish, 90 crayfish, something like that.
Oh wow!
To equivalent like an inch or two of fish. So it's. But the other thing is that, and we've had what's his name, Alien on the show, and he ran a whole aquaponic cannabis run completely off of invertebrates, and he was saying that he was getting much better phosphorus and other nutrients, but you also have to maintain pretty high calcium, magnesium levels for those guys, so that helps a lot, quite a lot as well.
Well, I have a question on that note. Since urea is not readily available to the plant, not soluble, why would it be good to use an aquaponics?
Oh, because the microbes can break it down much quicker than they can the raw ammonia.
Okay.
There's a fewer steps involved for it to be broken down and made plant available, by aquatic microbes at least. So that's why it would be, beneficial in that case. I'm still waiting for a dispensary that'll let me do a big freshwater predator tank and fill it with like 2/3 stingrays and a couple, like an arowana and something else, with a couple of pot plants on top for their like store display. But
Steve, I don't care how good you say the urea is in the system for breaking down. I'm not going to be one of those guys who pees in the system. Those people are just rude to me. Ponics. No, that's chill.
I had to answer a question about that today on the blog about using urine to nutrient their plant.
I've used it on soil gardens for years. I mean, it works great.
Yeah, you can even use human manure.
I wouldn't do that because the microbes are different. But if you ferment urine for 2 to 4 weeks, it's actually a pretty damn good fertilizer. They use that, and especially like in third world countries like Jamaica and stuff, in Africa and other places, it can be a really good nitrogen source.
Please tell me you didn't put urine in a jar for a few weeks and then put it in the plants. Please don't tell me you're one of those people. And silence.
Okay, so I will tell you.
Well, I was under the understanding you had to use it really quick, otherwise you develop it makes ammonia.
Oh no, you want to ferment it like a fine wine, apparently.
I thought you just mixed it with water and then you used it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you never want to put it on the plants directly. You always want to dilute it.
You want to close the top on the jar and leave it in the sunlight for a week.
Yep.
Shit. God damn it, Steve.
No, it's actually piss, not shit.
Yeah, shit. It's not as good. So you guys want to talk about? I'm sorry. What was your name again, bro? Roger. Do you want to talk more about your experience in the different communities things you've really learned from different communities or things like that?
I would like to do it in about 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
I ran to her, and now I'm eating mine and trying to listen to y'all and have some of this conversation. I'd love to talk to you in a minute. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Brian Grow, we haven't heard from you yet. Do you want to tell us about your grow and what's been going on with you? We briefly talked to you last episode or the episode before.
Yeah. Right now I'm actually setting up a new aquaponic system without using any shortcuts, such as using the media or just anything from my old aquaponic system. And I'm trying to see how that goes. I'm going to be doing 50% water changes every week so I can keep the fish stress-free and try and establish that nitrifying bacteria as quickly as possible.
So you're not using any of the bacteria or media from the previous grow that's already colonized with bacteria?
That's right. I'm trying to do it from like a beginner standpoint with the knowledge that I have to kind of see how that goes.
Just remember that the nitrifying bacteria that'll give you the nitrites, that population is going to grow a lot faster than the nitrate. So it's going to be hard to really ramp up your nitrates safely for the first few months while the system's maturing. I had to deal with that myself recently because I had to rebuild a whole grow room, and all my media had to go in kind of fresh. So that was a little bit of an issue. I had to send Steve a message like, hey, take a look at how high my nitrites are. And I got the holy shit message from him. He's like, dump your water now.
Right. Yeah. Well, what I'm trying to, what I'm kind of doing is, I figure it'll work out because I have my already established aquaponic system to do the water changes with. I can basically take 50% of the water from the new system and add it into the old system, and then bring in the new rainwater and add it into the new system. So that's pretty much what I'm working on right now. And then I also uploaded another video today about a cannagar that I rolled up for this 420 today that I was smoking all day long. So if anyone's interested in that, I kind of have a few recommendations on that on my channel, I guess.
Wonderful.
But other than that, that's pretty much what I'm working on right now. Is just focusing on that new aquaponic system. I am trying. Go ahead.
Are you using any seed bacteria? Using any products to seed your bacteria in the system, or are you just going to let it, kind of do its thing? It'll go a lot slower. You can, if you introduce something like recharge or any aquarium or aquatic cycling bacteria just as a seed, just so you have all of the right bacteria species present so they can colonize the system, can really shorten up your time when you're starting a new system.
No.
Even azos from extreme gardening is one you can put in your system too.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to take the long route, I guess, and see how long it takes to get it established.
Are you just going to let it naturally grow from the air and all that? Okay.
Yeah,
that'll
exactly.
It'll take a little bit, but just one thing I would recommend, not as far as like, how should I put this? Not as far as inoculating it with bacteria, but even just putting in like one goldfish in the system, or putting in just something that'll give some low level of ammonia will help promote that bacterial growth. So yeah, even just get one in there.
Absolutely, dosing your ammonia with something like ammonium chloride can be a really good way to make sure that your nitrifying bacteria can have enough to work with. Just don't overshoot it. So never go more than 4 parts per million ammonia. Otherwise, once you hit about 6 or 8 parts per million, you start killing microbes with the ammonia level. So you always, when you're starting off, you want aim for 2 to 4 ammonia parts per million, and then to seed to start off with, and then just let them rip. And also, don't use ammonium hydroxide. Use ammonium hydroxide, you're going to spike your pH well into the 9s, which occasionally somebody goes to the hardware store and tries to use ammonium hydroxide and slams the pH in their system.
Right. Yeah. Right now, I just have a few goldfish in there to start up that ammonia production, so I can get those nitrates coming in.
Awesome. Have you had any particular challenges lately with your system at all?
Not really. It's been going pretty smoothly since I guess since about January. So I'm definitely pretty happy with that. I've had several harvests. Let's see. I can say my success really started in November. But then I think I may have touched on it on the last episode. I had a job through December and the beginning of January that was just really taking up all my time. But so November was pretty good. It set me up for a pretty good amount of harvests in January. And I still wasn't happy with my harvest weight. I was actually running these lights kind of as an experiment. They were rated at 39 actual watts, but supposed to be compared to a 150 watt, and the brand is Kessel, and those just weren't doing nothing for me. So I went onto Amazon and looked for one of those little $80 Galaxy Hydro lights, and it's definitely bumped up my harvest. So I'm happy with that, and that's probably what I'm going to use to start out with for my new system. I would love to do like a DIY LED system, but I just don't have that in the budget right now.
What's the flowering footprint? What's the flowering footprint you're in right now? Like the space you need the light to cover?
It's a 3x4 for my system that's already going, and I kept those. I have 4 of those lights, and they're supposed to have a footprint of 2 square feet, which it really. Like I said, it didn't do anywhere of what it was claiming that it was capable of.
If you're looking to not spend a lot, but get something that'll give you a decent light output, take a look online today before their 420 sale is up. Take a look at the closet case from Spectrum King. It's like $200. And I think they say it does like a 4x4. It's like 100 watts, but it's actually decent. I've seen people have been getting good results with it, and I got a Mother's Little Helper, which is their more vegetative one for that same size. Dude, It's good penetration. It's great light. I haven't had any problems.
Awesome.
My plants love it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's I'm going to start off with that little $80 light, and then hopefully I can upgrade to something better than that. But that's what I'm going to start out with.
Or you could add 2 more or 3 more. $80 lights.
What's that now?
You could add 2 or 3 more of the same $80 light.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people knock them all day, but I mean, people get results from them. So I'm not saying anybody here is knocking them or anything, but they will produce you some results. And I feel like for a starting point, that's just an excellent place to start, you know, just for anyone else who's just looking to get into the hobby. I'm kind of trying to do like a budget grow out kind of thing. Like the system I'm setting up, it will be less than I think less than $180 by the time it's all said and done with the light included. Well, no, I'd say with the media, we'll say 140-ish or so, somewhere around there. Hopefully a little bit less than that. But
you can have that posted up on YouTube so we can check it out.
Yeah, I did post the part 1 where I have the fish tank and the what's it called? The fish tank, the pump, and the grow bed that I have installed. And that comes out to, let's see, the fish tank is like a $43 stock tank. The pump is a 400 gallon per hour pump that I got off of Amazon for just under $17. And then the little grow bed I like to use, it's like an 8-inch deep. It's, I think, 2x3 or 20 inches, somewhere around 2x3. And that runs between $25 and $30. That price fluctuates on Amazon all the time, but that's pretty much what you're looking at for a basic startup cost, not including the light and the media. And then I pretty much on the video it shows this what's it called? Not a swirl filter, but the radial flow filter. There you go. And I just used a recycled food grade bucket for that and some of the PVC that I had lying around. Searched for another container so I can add the part that causes the particulates to drop to the bottom of the water. I don't know what the proper name for that is, but and I mounted that onto the system, and that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I haven't gotten any media yet. Planning on making some biochar here, hopefully within the next few days. And I'll probably add about a quarter of biochar into my media. And I'm hoping that'll help with cycling the system as well, with keeping my ammonia and nitrite levels lower than what is dangerous to the fish. So,
hey, Steve, I've heard of people mixing the biochar into the soil layer and really getting that in there because it's just almost like a great little condominium for all your bacteria. But I haven't heard of people putting it into the aquaponic layer. Could you give some feedback on that?
Oh yeah, give me like 2 seconds to respond. I just gotta give me like.
Oh, that's fine. You're looking up the dosing on the langbonite. It's fine.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm working with.
I actually already have biochar in my system that's been going. I don't know how long the biochar has been in there, probably for at least, I'm going to say 8 months or so. I don't know how exact that is, but it's been in there for quite a long time. And I feel like for anyone who has the equipment to put together just a little biochar kiln or whatever you call it, that's probably a good place to start for your media as well, especially if you're starting from just complete scratch, you know, because the biochar has the really high carbon content, so it kind of acts like activated carbon filter as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So it'll help. So wait, are you saying the biochar in your media in the grow bed will help reduce the odor produced in the grow room?
Well, I'm pretty much, well, I mean, biochar in general, absolutely, it'll do that, you know. But again, I'm kind of starting things from scratch, and I do things for my own personal experimental reasons, you know, that I may not be able to explain so well when I'm live. But especially the biochar, that's one thing that I'm hoping to really see some positive results from, as far as reducing the ammonia and nitrite level when I put it in. I'm definitely going to be doing some testing when I do that. So as soon as I do that, then and the next video probably will be up within less than another 2 weeks. So, I mean, this is probably going to be like a, 2, 3, possibly even a 4-part series that I have going on my channel. But
man.
Anyone else that's interested in seeing what the biochar could potentially do with, possibly taking down the ammonia and nitrite levels is definitely welcome to subscribe to my channel and check that out.
Groovy, dude. Yeah, keep us posted on the results as it goes.
Definitely.
So I actually did a lot of biochar testing back when I worked at the aquaponic source, and we tested it from okay, so between the aquaponic source and a friend of mine's farm, I've tested side by side in a hemp field at 1%, 3%, 5% with a control of no biochar in between, on half-acre plots on a total 4-acre grow area. We saw only an increase in growth in the weeds and almost no difference in the hemp. And then in the soil. And then when I did it in aquaponics, it started to churn and break apart and dissolve and start clogging things. And also we noticed it was uptaking a small amount of some of the micronutrients, because it does act as a free carbon, activated carbon for a little while when it first gets into the system. So we were noticing some minor micronutrient issues when we were using it as a media. We tested it as a media. We also heavily tested it as media for the vertical grow towers that the aquaponics, I guess, either used to make or currently makes. I'm not really sure what they're doing with it right now, but that's what we found is that the biochar made pretty much zero difference in plant growth, and none that we could account for, and it didn't. It ended up being a huge mess in aquaponics when used that way. But I'm not saying it might not work well in a soil layer, but I don't know. I didn't see any kind of measurable difference. I bet if you guys had any different experiences, or
well, like I was just telling these guys, I've had it going in my system for quite some time, and I haven't really noticed any difference in plant size. But like I said, I'm kind of just using it for the benefits of the startup benefits, like I mentioned. And that's why I really made it a big point to get this solids filter setup that I have. And I'm like I say, and I'm going with the radial flow filter just for, again, experimental purposes. I just want to see how good it goes compared to a swirl filter. And I guess I'm hoping that will catch any of the mess that biochar will create. And I definitely have had some clogging issues with my grow beds, so every once in a while I'll make sure I go in there and check the drains and whatnot, make sure everything's flowing properly. I try to make Mondays my maintenance day and get everything done.
all right. Well, Aquaponic Dumme, is there anything else you want to talk about there, Brian Grow? Anything you want to plug this week, or anything else? Or questions that you have?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thanks a lot, buddy.
No problem.
Aquaponic Dumme or Roger? I guess looks like Roger got back up. Aquaponic Dumme, do you want to talk about what's going on with you lately and your shop and everything?
Well, as far as the shop goes, I haven't really done anything. I actually might move, man. That's what I've really been looking into lately. I'm up here in northern Maine. It's pretty cold. In fact, this morning it was snowing. So I've been actually looking at different locations in the southern part of the state. A little more, I think, more populated areas, I guess, more socialization areas for me anyway, or closer to my kids or whatever.
Sure.
But as far as the garden goes, it's a slow process. You know, I have back issues, so it's I mean, anybody watching my shows can see basically what I'm doing. I haven't uploaded any videos probably 3-4 weeks now. I think since my last harvest, and you know, like I said, it's a slow process. You know, so right now I'm working on room 2 and 3, just trying to get them readily available at the property, so the property has you know, a finished garden if it does go on the market here. Yeah, so that's it. I'm putting up walls and you know, putting up plastic, and that's what I've been doing, man. It's a lot of work for me.
Hey, Aquaponic Dumme, take a look at this.
What am I looking at here? Oh, there we go.
Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Here we go.
That's all from you, man. That's all from you.
Is that a tough tote?
Yeah, a little old Contigo box.
That's cool.
Sorry, I had to interrupt. That's been my project since I got on.
Have you, just to do a plug here, have you checked out Silver Arm 32?
Sure have. Yeah, he just started his like a month or two ago with the aeroponics. Man, yeah, he kind of pushed me over the edge. He actually got me off your recommendation. He gave me a part number. I think we were actually my YouTube name's KDAC. You helped me out on his video as well. So thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those sprinkler heads, they've done me good so far. Like I said, the biggest problem I've had is just snails. You know, they float around the system, and inside the aero chamber, you know, those little you know, egg sacs or little boogers, I guess is what I like to call them. It's all over my aero chambers, everywhere. So, but other than that, they do really well.
That's awesome. Yeah, luckily I don't know. I might be speaking too soon, but I don't have a snail issue. My system's kind of smaller. Or definitely smaller than yours.
Well, mine's growing too. It's you guys are just talking about filters. I'm actively installing a second swirl filter as we speak, a 1,000-liter IBC tote.
Wow.
Wow, this is the second one. So it tells you how much water I have in my system.
Jeez, how many rooms do you run?
Well, like I said, the garden's still in construction. Right now, I have one that's basically complete. Missing some more cob lighting because I'm using all cob lights, or I will be using all cob lights.
Oh yeah,
sweet.
Yeah, those heat sinks are so expensive. That's my next purchase with
yeah. Well, it's well, I might like me and Roger here. We have something in the works. We might have some kits available to buy. You know, I mean, very similar to the ones you can get online, but these will be pre-assembled, a little cheaper because they'll probably be me making them.
Yeah. Are you what chips are you going to use? You going to use those Citizens?
Well. Yeah, we'll have some Citizens. We'll have some. Mostly my work is. I mean, everything is that's pre-vap. So we would get it, you know, package it, and I would custom build the framework. And honestly, that's the most expensive part.
Yeah.
Well, just as expensive, I should say, as the cobs themselves. So, but yeah,
that's the main objective of what we're doing. We're going to custom design railings and frames for whatever grow room you've got. Instead of you being limited to like, this is what we make, we're going to make, you tell us what your grow room size is and we'll build a frame to put the cobs.
Yeah, I like that because, you know, every like Brain Grow, his little his homemade setup there, it's it's going to take a different type of light than what would than your cookie cutter 4x4 tent.
Well, you've seen if you look at my videos, mine are what 2 by 10 or a little over, a couple inches over 10 feet. So, and I stretched on my last harvest. I got one, and this is all Aero Aquaponics, 1.4, I think 1.45 grams per watt, which is, I mean, it's pretty good. I highly recommend. I'm using the Cree 3590s, and they work very well.
Yeah, I got those Crees are just a bit too spendy for me, but I talked to the guy over at cobkits.com, and my order got jumbled up, and he ended up hooking me up to make up for the issues, and I got a good handful of Citizen 1212s at the 92 CRI. You should ask him; he'll have those if you're into that sort of thing with the Citizens. But yeah, and I'm just waiting on those heat sinks now. Those are expensive. I'm thinking of casting my own actually.
Wow, yeah. Well, make sure you get, if you end up buying them, make sure you get pre-drilled unless you're handy with a drill.
Oh yeah, no, those passive sinks, heat sinks, I think are the only way to go. I had, I grow in my garage, and there's no vents for the dryer. Like it doesn't lead outside, so it's just blowing that hot air here in my garage, and all the lint comes with it. And I did some DIY cheap stuff I found off eBay, a DIY LED kit before, something I found on Reddit. And I bought cheap heat sinks with the fans and stuff. And man, those just suck in all the dust, and you just cannot get them clean. So I'm going passive all the way.
It's the way to go. Man.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. Save a bunch of beer cans, smelt them, and then use it to make your LED.
I'll show you when I attempt it. We almost got the crucible welded up. I got like 10
recycling.
bags. Yeah, I got 10 garbage bags full of beer cans on the side of the house that I should probably get melted down before the neighbors get pissed. But yeah, it's awesome. I'm just, you got to find something that interests you, and this everything. I'm like, I'm just gonna make it. The aquaponics got me into this whole DIY stuff.
Right on.
Hey, Brandon, real quick, have you seen those quantum boards?
The quantum boards, yeah. I actually, now that you mention it, I just barely started getting into the DIY stuff. I was watching some on Grow Mouse's channel. Yeah. And he had on the guy from the, what's it called? Marty mentioned it one of the past podcasts. The chill LED, however you pronounce that.
Yeah.
And they got into a real technical discussion, and I'm just sitting here having a hard time trying to take all that stuff in.
Dude, but I've been watching this stuff for like 2 years at this point, and I still hardly understand what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. But it definitely interests me.
Sure.
I used to build custom LEDs for aquarium industry and all that. And it's not that hard. You have a driver which functions kind of like a ballast, and in the driver you can adjust the voltage and the milliamps. And each diode you have takes, has a milliamp range, and for what percentage you want to run it. And then most drivers will support up to X number of diodes per driver in series. So, plus to minus to plus to minus to plus to minus,
right.
Diodes. And basically you run them in series, wire them back to your driver, and then adjust your milliamps to the range that they want and the voltage to the range that they want. And as long as you have a voltage meter, a soldering gun, and the thermal adhesive, it's not too bad.
Yeah, see, Steve, you're a wizard, man, so it doesn't translate over here. Just joking, man. You're a smart dude. It's easier for you.
Is that driver magnetic?
No, they're all digital. But and if you don't like soldering and all, they do have plug and play ones where it's all of it has little plug connections. You just snap it together. They're just a little more prone to moisture. But the nice thing about it is if one of your diodes dies, it's like, ah, shit, I got to go spend like $6 or $10 and pop a new one on there and just stick it next to the old one and then, you know, move the wires over and you're good to go. You know, it's pretty simple and they're all, you know, infinitely repairable because only one little part of your component will go bad at a time. And, you know, all the little components save the driver are dirt cheap, you know, they're $10 or less. So.
Nice. All right, guys. I got to get up like 5:30 tomorrow for work, so I will talk to you all soon. It was a pleasure hanging out and podcasting with all of you. Happy 420.
Yeah, happy
likewise, man. Take it easy.
It was fun chilling at the cup.
Yeah,
be sure if you guys want to check out more footage, check out Dude Grows show. Who posted the YouTube video? They had a really good YouTube video. Oh, I think it was on their channel actually of the cup. So.
Yes, they did.
Check that out. I know he's going to be posting the full list of entries and what place they were in with just the strain names. At least that's what last time I heard. So it'll be
really
cool to see. Yeah, that's what he was talking about. I couldn't find it anywhere before the episode. I actually wanted to read it off, but I couldn't find it. I don't know if Scotty's put it up yet, so I'll have to poke him about.
Here's something. I'm gonna give Scotty a call in a couple of days and run this by him and dude. But one thing that's a little rough with having just one category for flower, and you have to have people try and get through 50 strains to see what the best are. You might have something where it's like the best sativa on the planet, but you have somebody who one of the 8 strains they managed to get through is just a sativa or a indica lover, and they hate sativa, so they won't put a chip towards something that does deserve it. But if you break it into indica, sativa, hybrid, the people who really enjoy those categories will go vote for those categories. So if somebody's like, well, if there's 12 strains, I can fucking power through that. And then they'll be able to check out all the strains in that category. And you have a winner from each of those. And then you have a select panel of like Scotty, Brett, JR Token, Maestro, and, you know, the core DGC members. And then they
Guru
do a little panel and compare the winners of those subcategories and pick an overall winner from those ones.
Absolutely.
I think that way people will be able to actually try everything that they want to at that point, not be guessing around and just finding stuff that may be good, but it's not on their menu. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The other thing is, I think the only other thing I would change too is I would make concentrates a separate category. So.
I also think they should have Funyuns available for free, but that's just me.
Yes, more snacks and more ashtrays. Are the other two things.
That's true.
But yeah, that was pretty funny. Like 10 minutes into it, I was like, "Oh shit, there's no ashtrays," and we're like, "Oh crap!" And we had to run around and find some. And
no, my problem was, oh shit, I forgot to bring a fucking lighter.
Oh yeah, and it's funny. I ended up the friend of mine that came down brought like 5 or 6 lighters and ended up saving the day. So.
Right on, man. All right. Well, hey, have a great night, dude.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Out of curiosity, what cup are you talking about?
Dude Grows Cup.
Yeah, we were at the Dude Grows Cup over the weekend.
Yeah, I competed 2 strains.
Yep.
So they didn't get first, but everybody that did try it told me they loved it. So I was very happy about that.
I'm willing to bet that your one strain came in top 5 or at least top 10.
I hope
that's
so.
Pretty cool in itself.
That'd feel good.
Have a place for good mention. That's good.
Yeah, it's a nice little secret cup, and I don't know. I was thinking about how much fun we had and how amazing experience, and I was, kind of pondering the idea of I have something in mind. Maybe we'll try to throw our own like Aquaponics cup or Aquaponics gathering where we can get, maybe once a year we can get all the people from the podcast to get together and just have like a meetup / maybe even do some talks, rent out a place for the day, do some talks and have kind of like a jam out afterwards.
Marty will still find a way out of it.
No, yeah, he'll just knock his wife up again. We got to make sure we don't. Once this kid comes out, we got 9 months, 8 months to.
That's fine.
So. but unfortunately he was having some issues today, and he's kind of hurting from getting hit in the face with a pretty gnarly piece of PVC. So, Aquaponic Dumme and Roger, you guys want to tell us more about what you guys are up to?
Well, we've been, well, like Dumme said, we met a year or so ago and got to hit it off, and you know, we both, well, it's kind of funny that, you know, my wife left me Labor Day, right the night before a hurricane hit, Hurricane Matthew, and believe wasn't it Hurricane Matthew? Anyway, so you know, it's kind of like we've known each other because I love growing marijuana.com for Robert, and Dumme started coming on there, and I've never been impressed by much aquaponics before. And we were looking for a new moderator, so I asked him to be a moderator, and he's had a tremendous help. And as you guys know, he gives shit away all the time.
Oh yeah,
giving stuff away, and that's really how we met. Was he wanted to give away stuff on the forum, but I felt like it wasn't good for security of members if we started giving out addresses.
Yeah.
And you know, I've always wanted to have a store, even though you can't make any money with a store really, unless you're making your own light systems or something. But I'm working on some systems too that I want to do. I'm working on ideas. I don't want to go too much into it, but I'm working on ideas that are basically, like I said before, and that's what I think both of us have on the same page with this. We're working on stuff that will custom fit different things. Something nobody's impressed with. Everything's just the size it is. I'm going to start looking at the size grow spaces people are actually using and developing entire systems. Now, again, it won't be an aquaponic system in this case, but I'd like to get onto something else rather than just talk about that. So we're opening up a store. We're going to have a live voice chat on it. Like I said, we're going to donate time and part of the chat to disabled veterans and all, which I'm really big on supporting. I lost a really good friend on the third day of the war in Nasiriyah, of a gunny sergeant from Paris Island. He got killed the third day, and so I've got a vested interest. I know a lot of drill sergeants down there at Paris Island, and I kind of I just saw what it did to people, and I'm actually part of a support group for that guy's family and friends, and so I get a lot of that. But so when we started to do this chat idea, I wanted to ask the guys on the forum who wanted to be involved. Who wanted to be involved in doing support, make a few bucks maybe, and a couple of the guys were disabled veterans. And I said, you know what we need to do? We need to give you your own department. So if you're not handling a support call for either cannabis or vegetables and hydroponics, it'll be you can have. I'll give you a free access to your friends, or you can put it down if notices at the VA or whatever you want to do, where disabled veterans and stuff can come and talk to somebody, and it'll always be there. So, and then I'm blind. I'm legally blind, so I want to do some things with the Association for the Blind. To hook it up, because I want to hire some people that are visually impaired. But I wanted, since I'm in the hydroponics, with all the hydroponic gurus of the country, I would love. I'm sorry. I apologize. Aquaponics over in the country. I'll tell you what I told Dumme I want to do, and maybe you guys can throw some ideas my way, because I understand it's going to be hard to do what I want to do. I want to build an aquaponic system, which will have to be salt water, because I want to grow pistachio.
Pistachio nuts need salt water?
Yeah, they grow in the Mediterranean or off the California coast.
So saltwater can be really tricky. There's no real good models for. Well, I know how to do saltwater systems, but to try and do an aquaponic system with saltwater, to date, no one's really had much luck with that. Now, pistachio, it'd be interesting to see how, something that's like a pistachio tree, I'd just take a bunch of research and testing, and I don't know. That's definitely an interesting idea.
Yeah, because they grow. When I was 10, I lived in Turkey, and we were right on the Mediterranean, in a little town called Gallivan. You could walk down with a quarter, get a bag, like a beer bag, full of fresh pistachio nuts right off the boat out of the Mediterranean. And if you like pistachios, you have no clue. You have no idea what they really taste like. I mean, it's take the best one you ever had, and right out of the Mediterranean was like fresh shrimp off the boat. Same kind of quality, And that's what I would like to do. I've got my own ways of growing cannabis, and I'm an hydroponics greenhouse guy. I grow habaneros for Whole Foods, and I'm actually going to stop doing that and just grow table vegetables to sell in the open air market locally. I think I could make as much or more money than trying to fill orders for Whole Foods, and it's just a pain in the butt. I used to sell, I've grown poblanos for them, sweet bells and stuff like that, but mostly I did habanero because habanero is the most expensive pepper out there. And so it's got the highest margin and all, but they changed me from growing in half bushel boxes to growing where they said, we want you to do clamshells. So I invested in all this setup to do clamshells and all, and put all my habaneros in there. And then they decided they didn't want clamshells anymore. And they want to go back to boxes. And they just wouldn't give me the money. So I just decided it wasn't worth, I was basically, I'd work a season in my greenhouse and basically break even. Now I'd have food, but all that work and all that investment, all that time, and at the end of the season, all I did was pay for the minerals, because I make all my own nutrients. I mix them out of the 50 pound, I mix calcium nitrate, potassium nitrate, iron, magnesium in part A. Part B, I mix potassium, sulfate of potash, MKP, MAP, and Epsom salts, and magnesium sulfate. And then I make my own micronutrient out of chelates with the boron, manganese, magnesium, zinc, copper, and I'm sure I'm missing something. I'm sure one of you experts know what I'm missing. But, I mix that all up myself, and I use those same 1,000-liter totes just like Dumme has. That's what I run on my greenhouse, and I run a spray to waste system. So I run my plumbing down 1 inch, 3/4 down the main line, and I break it down to 3/4 inch PVC, and then break it and tee up into 1/2 inch lines with micro sprayers, and they basically place the sprayer by the plant. It sprays all over the entire medium, and I grow in perlite. I grow in 3 to 5 gallon poly bags, sitting on the greenhouse floor, and put a sprayer in each one. And they get watered anywhere from, when I start a small plant, it doesn't need to be watered as much. It's like 40 seconds every 60 minutes. And then when they start to, develop fruit sets, I go to 40 seconds every 40 minutes. And then when they start developing 3 or 4 tiers of fruits, I go to 60 seconds every 40 minutes. And I do that every hour. Well, I don't do it every hour. It's on a recycle timer. So once it's a photo cell, the sun comes up and it waters. And it waters like that all day, depending on the cycle of growth. And I learned to make my hydroponic nutrients from David Hill. I don't know if anybody ever heard of that him, but he used to work for Better Grow Hydro in California for David Goldman. And I met him because I was calling around trying to find the best hydro place. And even though I'm in Carolina, I found a place in California. Well, he was the field agent for all the hydroponic farms in South Africa and Kenya. So, and the state tells you what to grow there, and these just amazing farms that they had over there. And I said, wow, if they can grow like that, they didn't grow American style, they grew third world style. But I said, wow, if they can produce like that over there where they got bigger bugs and it's hotter, I should do okay here in South Carolina. And he helped me make my own custom nutrient formulations where I have a balanced nutrient form, like a 10-10-10. And then I have a special like 9-18-38 for peppers with high potassium. And then I can adjust that because I just, you guys know what it's like. You start getting to know your plants, and you just go and add a little bit more of this or that. We don't always necessarily. It's a fluctuating thing when you're growing produce because you got the different times. I actually equate that to cannabis too, because you got the same thing. You got a plant that's growing in veg, so you really don't need. You got that balance formula works great, and then as you go through the transition, you can slap it with some MKP to boost that phosphorus up, and then I just boost the potassium from there on out once it starts. If it was cannabis, once the buds were there. But that's what I've been doing. And well, David Hill now works for Canna. I know you guys all you can ask you as a group, like Dumme does. Do all of you pretty much mix all your own stuff?
Yeah, because there isn't any nutrients on the market right now for aquaponics specifically, and there's only a handful of products out there that are okay to use because basically we need all the nitrogen stripped out, and then zinc and I forget what the other one is at the moment. I'm super high right now.
So you need a nutrient with no nitrogen and no zinc?
You super low zinc are the two things that so some bloom boosters are really good, but it just depends on what they are.
Maybe that's what we should develop as a team. We should get together as a group and develop some aquaponic nutrients.
Oh yeah, I have a whole line actually that I'm hopefully going to be launching here in the next year, but something I haven't had a chance to talk about.
If it's okay with Dumme, you can sell it in our store. We'll keep you up right away.
That'd be great. Yeah, we can talk about that definitely off the show.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
but yeah, I got a whole bunch of irons in the oven, and we got a whole bunch of stuff, especially once this product company up in Canada gets off the ground here, it'll be really big, and hopefully even expanding into California here pretty quickly with the same group of people or a similar group of people working together to the same common goal. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, if I can help you out at all, I'd be more than happy to. Since I've got pretty much everything, and if I don't have exactly what you might use, I can add it, and then we could do some test formulas if you're going to want
to.
But, if you want to try to mix up something new, because that's basically what our whole business is about. We can't make any money selling Hydro Farm gear or Fox Farm, and I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to have a venue where I can sell my own systems and the systems of my friends and people I respect. Like Dumme, he's coming up with ideas to do stuff, and he wants to build these cob light systems. And my whole idea was really to build. You get so many growers that come to you and say, what do I need? I just started my $80 seeds, and I don't have. What do I need to grow? And so we're just going to put together kits, from economy kits to like 2x3 tent kits, 4x4 tent kits, 4x8 tent kits. Room, whatever size, super premium, custom expert grow kits, and all that, and super, like with and without fans and stuff like that. But I was thinking about, because if you're selling ready-made nutrients or products, grow products, whether it be reservoirs or pumps or whatever, you can't make any money unless you do a kit, because you're only going to make money off of 2 parts. But you'll sell that part, you make a few money of that product, you make a few bucks on, and that's all you're still going to make is a few bucks, and because they bought the whole kit. And they might be able to get the kit a little cheaper if they buy it all themselves, but then they have to do all the shopping and all the putting together and the research, as opposed to, we kind of know after years and years of working in this, what works and what doesn't work. Just like some of you've got your opinions about what's the best LED lights to build, like which company, same kind of deal. Because I want to put together a modular grow system that'll work in tents. So you can use one module, or you can snap another module together with it. Then you can turn it, or you could have it in a straight line or whatever. So I'm working on those manifolds that'll hook that together. And one of my staff is actually a guy that's a production manager, like knows about molds and getting tools made to have something made all the time, or whether, like for you guys, for instance, say you got a vessel that you want to have your aquaponic system in. Mm-hmm. Well, this fella would give me some good advice. find something that you like to use, but it doesn't connect to everything so easy. You got to do a lot of fabrication. If you wanted to make a system that was ready-made, like somebody was talking about growing in a tent, I can't fathom doing aquaponics in a tent, but okay. If he's got gumption and he's going to do it and he's doing it, he's doing it. So you could, you take a vessel you like, you go to the company that makes that vessel, and then you just talk to them about applying this connection thing onto it. And they could do it way cheaper than you could do it. Like, you couldn't make the vessel like at the reservoir with the connections cheaper than you could if you went to a company and bought their reservoir, whatever it was, any food grade, 55-gallon drum, whatever, you know, whatever you find that's food grade, and then have them tool and attach your fittings to it. That's the kind of things that I'm into doing right now. That's what I'm not trying to just sell, you know, water farms, even, you know, and stuff like that. And I love the aquaponics thing. If I can't, I'm by myself on my farm. I don't have time, and but I do have. I can get fish. I can get trout. I can get tilapia. I don't like eating tilapia, so I don't really want to use tilapia. But I'm in South Carolina where I can get fingerlings for like less than $1. I don't know what y'all pay, but you know, I can get fingerlings
$1.
Really, really cheap. Now, see, Dumme can't get that kind of price on the right fish. He's got to use a local fish and manipulate the environment for it. But we have, I live in an area where I can get just about any kind of fish, you know, pretty much. And we even have saltwater here. I was thinking about going back to my idea about the pistachio nuts. Check this out. I've got ocean out there. Instead of making my own saltwater, why don't I harvest it from the ocean? What do you think about that?
You could do that too. You also don't have any control of contaminants, and some places get kind of weird about pulling seawater out like that. But it's just a
yeah, it could be, yeah, for sure. All right, just so no big hurrahs or balloons going off or nothing. Okay, so but I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you. That's pretty much what we're doing. We're looking to support people. I think we're getting back to where people want to. They've gone through a texting era, but a lot of people are getting sick of waiting on getting an answer. So I want to try to provide something where they can get an answer right now. Those guys that are panicking on all the forums all the time, or even on your Facebook page, you wake up, how many times you get a guy with a crisis that's been freaking out all night because you were in bed?
Yep. You should see some of the crazy shit that I've gotten, man. I had a guy message me from Jordan, and I'd love to get, this guy listens to the show pretty religiously. I'd love to get him on the show, but he will be executed if they find him, so I have to worry about that. But this guy sent me a thing and was like, dude, I finally found a way to get these seeds, and you don't even know the hell I went through to get them to the point they are now, and I don't know why they don't look like the stuff that I see online, and and tried to help him find what he could use and acquire out there and to get his stuff. So it's really you really do get the gamut of people, especially when you reach out and provide information kind of like we do. I've actually had viewers from 151 countries so far on the according to YouTube anyway, on the podcast, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's getting widespread like that. Our forum is loaded with people from Australia, New Zealand, Africa. I recently, yesterday, I had dealings with a guy in Portugal. And so I'm trying to help them find grow equipment because they can't buy grow equipment over there. Like eBay Australia, you can't buy grow lights and you can't buy nutrients and stuff. So I've been working out. We found a place. I haven't really investigated it enough, but because it sells all kind of stuff. It's kind of like a sharper image thing, but it's called GearBest, and I think it's out of China. But at least they would sell to the people over there. So that's one thing I've been working on too. So we're working off affiliate accounts too. In fact, I opened an affiliate account with them just for those members because we try to advertise with only our partners on the site. Try to keep competing links off, although we allow information links, but we don't allow links to any other seed banks or anything. In my opinion, we got the best genetics on the planet. So, I mean, unbelievable. I'm smoking some of the Robert's Gold Leaf right now. And that's some good shit. It's one of the highest CBD plants on the planet.
Nice.
I believe it's up around 30 or so, 28 to 34.
Wow. What's the name of the strain?
Gold Leaf.
Gold Leaf. Okay.
Right. You can't kill this plant. It's a massive, it'll grow, depending on your system and lights, mainly lights, and to me it's lights. It's a pretty good sized plant. There's about 5 to 6 feet tall. Pretty massive hard buds. I've seen our members are going nuts with this stuff, and I got it because I'm an old school. I wanted to, since I get seeds from the seed bank, I was getting the Jack Herrera and that kind of stuff, and then I kept watching the members growing. Yeah, I see. Wow, it's a good. What is that? Gold Leaf. They keep that Robert's own strain, and they're buying Gold Leaf, and I'm going, man, that plant just looks awesome every time. Isn't that true, Devin? Hello?
Tell me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I was typing away. I didn't want you guys to. Yeah, man, I like it.
Isn't that true, though? Every time you turn around and you see an awesome plant on the site, it's freaking Gold Leaf.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got some going right now in aquaponics, so I'm planning on sharing that experience as soon as it gets harvestable.
Yeah, y'all get to see Gold Leaf in action in Dummies, in Aquaponic Dummies system. So I ordered something new today. Everybody want to know what I'm getting?
What's that, man?
Well, I ordered the fruity pack, which is blueberry, strawberry kush, and pineapple haze. And then I ordered the Blue Dream. Somebody tonight was talking about Blue Dream. I ordered Blue Dream today, and another package of the Flower Power Bloom because I love those nutrients. I can't believe how good. That's another thing, guys. If you have guys that do grow, that friends of yours that grow in hydroponics, have them check out the starter pack by Roberts and Robert Seed Bank called Flower Power. It's a powder nutrient that dissolves immediately. It's so soluble. You only use about anywhere from a half a teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon per gallon. And the starter pack bloom, which you use the most of, right? I'm sure you guys, before you were aquaponics, you did hydro or something, but you always use more bloom than everything. Well, I got 2 full plants out of it. And the starter kit costs $36, and it's start, grow, bloom, and boost. And you just add the boost at 2 to 4 EC, 0.2 to 0.4 EC, along with your bloom in week 7 and 8, or 6 and 7, wherever, whether it's sativa, indica. It could be like I did mine in 8.5, 9.5, because I accidentally just kept blooming them too long. And well, they're just now amber, so I've got some OG Kush finishing and gold, and I've got Gold Leaf finishing. So I'm getting 6 ounces plus out of a simple Pro Mix grow in a 5-gallon cloth pot with nothing but a standard base nutrient, and watering a gallon at a time. I've been doing hydroponic systems and building all kind of stuff since the very beginning of my career in 2005, and I've had aero units with the same sprayers Dumme uses in his systems. But I'm gonna have a blast. I've been a moderator from the beginning, so that was kind of cool, and I've been moderator at 6 or 7 sites, and 2 or 3 of them were pretty cool and pretty big, and I love what I do. I think we've got one of the coolest cannabis forums on the planet. It's friendly. We don't allow any bullshit, no bitching people. Nobody's around cussing anybody, calling them stupid. I won't tolerate it. And we got a clientele that's mostly 45 to 65 years old. They're like retired professionals that have suddenly decided they didn't want to drool on themselves because of their Vicodin prescription. And they found after we all know that a few years ago they released all the true facts and studies the government had with, the Library of Congress, every 50 years or whatever. So when they found out the true facts about cannabis and the medical wave started happening in the last few years, we've got tons of mature senior people that are just now starting to grow pot instead of doing pharmaceuticals. And that's what I'm proud of. And they're going and running around talking about having fun with their grandchildren, instead of drooling on themselves in the chair in the house. So I think that's one of the greatest testimonies to medical marijuana is that I truly know older people that really, really for sure have medical, issues, and it's helping them. And so we're winning slowly but surely. And it's guys like you that do it too. All the attention you bring everybody. But I'm going to shut up now because this sounds like everybody's snoring. So.
No, not at all. We love to bring on guests to have them talk about their experiences and what they do. So.
Well, that's Steve that just spoke, right?
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to get where I knew your voice a little bit. I thought I knew who was talking to me. Absolutely. And I appreciate. I love it, man. It's 4:20 and I'm alone tonight. I mean, the old lady's next door, but I'm still alone. In fact, since she's home, she's got the dog, so I'm really alone. So I feel honored that you guys would invite me to be as a non-aquaponic grower and invite me in to talk and listen to you guys. That's been great. I've been loving it.
We love to get all different kinds of, we don't just do aquaponic growers. We bring on other people that do just soil and just different kinds of equipment or just that and the other. It's just anything kind of related to that, because most of the people that do grow in aquaponics also have a soil garden or also have a veggie garden or whatever. So we all, and not only that, you learn different techniques and that concepts and ideas, and they overlap, and this is how you get exposed to things to so that one of us or someone listening can come up with the next new great idea.
Yeah, for sure. Great. Yeah, that's great too. And see, I do that too. I've got soil grows. In fact, on that note, how many of you have heard? I'm sure you're all over Facebook and all. I'm actually I started a Facebook page, and I'm going to be doing rain gutter grow system this year.
Okay.
And I'm teaching it as you need to supplement it, because I've seen some of them people have great plants and other people having them plants that I know from looking at them need some minerals. So I got banned from the original rain gutter grow system because I was trying to support people like that, and they didn't like it. And I was helping them with bugs, which they were getting help. They told me they didn't want me to water down their page with other things like, what bug that is and how you treat it. Or I would add some, I might add some nutrients to that today, or, once in a while. So he didn't like that. Plus, I don't know about you guys, but I'd still argue that rain gutter grow system capillary action is wicking and therefore hydroponics, but he didn't like that.
Well, we use wicking beds and aquaponics for root crops, and I've tried to grow cannabis that way in aquaponics, and I tried a couple of different things, and we ended up having an issue. Someone suggested that maybe my soil mix was a little bit off, so I might try it again with a different one. I know Marty really likes it doing the sips. So.
Well, can I ask you, your soil mix, does it have dirt in it?
What do you mean?
Well, to me, soil means it has dirt in it. If it's a potting mix, it doesn't have any dirt.
No.
See,
well, I always love to add a little bit of local soil or local dirt, whatever have you, from outside to mix in with the within my regular base, just to introduce local microbes. Right. Because you will, get some microbes that are more adapted, or even a variation of a microbe that's more adapted to your local climate, and it will add a benefit to it. Same thing with adding a small amount of local soil when you're making compost teas, can have that same effect.
Yeah, I agree with that philosophy. Yeah.
So.
I got Rebello's book. It's like a Merriam-Webster dictionary. With the small print you had your whole life, the little red book, the dictionary. I got a compost book by Rebello, the father of organic gardening, who wrote a compost book. It's that thick, that little tiny print. Can you imagine all that information about composting?
Yeah, absolutely. We do a lot of kind of similar stuff to the composting with the compost and the lactobacillus ferments in terms of breeding, different microbes to their best of their ability.
And you're doing that in your soil grows, or you're doing it adding that to your aquaponics?
So both to the system water and then also to the top layer of our, when we're doing dual root zone pots. We run a system called dual root zone and then we water in just that upper layer and do it that way. This way we can get, basically double the microbes. You get the terrestrial microbes that love that soil layer, and then you get the aquatic microbes that prefer the, fully aquatic environment, which you end up with two different, groups of microbes altogether. Mycos don't like being fully submerged at all, for example. So.
And see, that's interesting. And this is what will bring more people, I think, maybe to aquaponics. This is what the Aquaponic Dumme taught me that I didn't know, and I'd never seen anybody. Of course, at some point, I'll just be honest, I just quit looking. Okay, I never saw anything that impressed me. Evidently, I'd never seen any of you guys' sites, pages. So but I don't know how many years you've been doing it, and I, probably 2008, 2009, I just quit looking at aquaponics because I had my own, I got a full plate enough. And I always wanted to raise fish, and so I thought I'd eventually get to it. But again, that plate is pretty full. It's just hard to add more food to it. So then when I met Aquaponic Dumme, I went, oh my God. And he taught me something that I'd never seen before, never heard before. And again, because I quit looking years ago, that you actually supplement your aquaponic systems with, minerals and whatever, like you're talking about, you're making microbes, doing things that are, cause reactions. And I thought that's very interesting. That's when, like I said, in fact, he sent me some rock phosphate just for shits and giggles so I could play with it next year or this summer when I'm doing something. But I wanted to build a section. I got a section of greenhouse 24 by 30 I could put up, and I wanted to get like a 12 by 12 or 16 by 16 swimming pool, 4 foot deep swimming pool, and put my fish in that. Mm-hmm. And I think, so how big of a system do you think I could use if I got, just say a 12 by 12, 3 foot or 4 foot tall swimming pool? What kind of system could I grow off of that? What would it supply?
Well, I mean, you could run at least 100 by 6 foot or 100 by 4 foot grow bed, at least or equivalent in grow beds. That's a huge fish tank. In fact, you could probably run 2 or 3 of those. Now that I think about it, just quick math in my head. If you had a high stocking rate and we're feeding them every day, I mean, you could totally run a pretty sizable system off of something like that. Or just cut back on your feed rate or your stocking rate, and you could run much fewer without having any issues as well. So stocking rate and feed rate are the two things that will kind of determine that, as well as to a lesser extent filtration.
Right. And that's going to be a lot of filtration.
Well, yes and no. You need a solid separation, and then you want to have a an off-gassing chamber, and then going back to your bed. So it's not anything overly complicated. Depending on whether or not you're going to include media into the system, or how you're going to set it up. If you're using a lot of media in the pots or a lot of media in the bed, in the beds below the pots, then you don't really need to go with a biological filter, because that is vastly more surface area than any biological filter would ever be. Even the MMRs and MBBR or whatever the hell it's called, and any of those other brush ones or whatever else. The brush filters can be pretty good, but my favorite is using the settling tanks or radial flow. It really seems to work much better than most of the other ones. And then you can always put a filter sock on the end of it if you want. You can get aquaculture or industrial grade filter socks are pretty damn cheap, and just have especially on a bigger system. Just get a couple different sets of them and then throw them in the wash inside out with no detergent, just to clean them. It works really, really well. I've used them a lot on, multiple, 2 to 5,000 gallon fish systems, everything from fish walls and importers to aquaponic systems, and it works really well. Especially if you have company coming or something like that, or an event, and you really want to polish your water up, make it nice and crystal clear. It can be, using those filter socks at different levels or different filter densities can really help with that. If you have to, quickly snazz up the system for, reporter coming or whatever.
So they can see the fish, right?
Yeah. As my old boss used to say, make look nice.
And you said you could probably do a 6 by 100 foot grow bed off that?
Probably more. That's
yeah, you could do way more than that. Yeah, I mean your fish tank that is about at that point it would be 1,000 to 2,000 gallons, or something like that. So you can run a huge fish system off of that. I know people that are running 400 foot by 4 foot grow bed, 100 foot by 8 foot rows off of a tank similar to that size with heavy stocking density, mind you.
See, I run
I could go with a smaller tank then, but go on, Aquaponic Dumme.
I run somewhere around 1,300 gallons right now. So, and that's increasing, as I add to it. But I got about 1,000 feet of garden that I'm trying to fill. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't have the straight or floating rafts or anything, but I have a lot of garden that I can do.
I used to have floating rafts, but they got wore out, and I hadn't been able to find where I could get them again. I lost that contact.
You can look up beaver boards if you're looking if you're doing lettuce production and all. Beaver boards are pretty good. You can get them as a bunch of different suppliers that have them in the United States and in Canada.
Beaver boards?
Yep, they're called beaver boards.
Oh, which reminds me, I've had it come up a few times now, and this is kind of off topic, but it just reminded me of it. A lot of guys that are the newer guys that are trying to do arrow systems, and they're looking for tops. I see. I brought it up to Silver Arm 32 on his channel. I actually posted it on his channel so he can look it up. It's called Starboard or Marine Board. It works pretty good for any kind of tops that want to be waterproof. It's like a plastic wood composite material. I don't exactly know what it's made of, but it's awesome stuff to cut through, and it will last forever, and it's plastic. So it's really good stuff. So anybody who's interested in waterproof tops to put net pots or something like that in, it doesn't float, but it is waterproof. And again, it's called Starboard or Kingboard.
Well, is this beaver board? Does it float?
No, yes. It's not float. That's the only kind.
I wanted the foam rafts that float. That's what.
Yeah.
I hope it was.
Yeah, the beaver boards float. Yeah.
Oh, it does float.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then that'd be cool. It looks like am I seeing it right? It looks like they actually come with the holes aren't drilled, but it looks like plugs where they got you spaced or something like that.
Yep. It's nice and evenly spaced for lettuce production, or they have different spacings that you can get for them. Now, if you're doing cannabis, you're going to want flood and drain beds, and that's a whole other discussion. But on how to set that up. But
I was going to ask you that too when you were describing your beds earlier. Like when I asked you about doing that swimming pool, and you said, "Well, you'd have the bed." You're talking about building. So, what kind of mediums are you using in an ebb and flow bed?
Sure. So you kind of have two options. You can either go flood and drain trays, same as you would for running cocoa or something like that. Right. Or you can actually put grow media in the grow beds and then just stick your pots in there and do it that way. And that works pretty well as well. 6 and 1/2 dozen in the other. One provides more biological filtration, but depending on your pre-filtration, you may or may not need that additional biological. Plus, you also have all the biological in the bottoms of all your pots. Sorry.
Well, I've got a whole bunch. I got a whole bunch of hydrogen. Mm-hmm. And I've got a source where I buy perlite, 440 pounds at a time. Like I go to Gold Hill, North Carolina, to the perlite factory, and they put a bag in the back that weighs 440 pounds, back in a pickup truck, and we drive back home.
Wow.
So I could load an entire bed full of perlite, but I would think it'd be better if would you consider using like a pro mix or anything? A lot of would that help biologically? I mean, that seems like it would.
Stuff that I like using is like a soil mix of 20 to 30% coco coir to give it some airiness. Really works well. I've also used lava rock in exchange for the coco coir for air supplement, but
I've used lava rock too, like hydrogen.
And you can, yeah, exactly. You can use lava rock in place of hydrogen, especially for dual root zone pots for the bottom half. Lava rock is perfectly good for media, but it can be kind of rough on your hands when you're working in huge beds and you need to do a lot of it. If you're not wearing gloves, it can really tear your hands up pretty quickly.
Definitely rough on your hands, man.
Yeah. When I use one, I'll tell you, I bust the crap out of it first with a hammer. I bust the crap out with a sledgehammer or something, like that, and then I open the bag and get all the pieces out, strain off all the dust, and then rinse, as we all know, rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse.
Well, there's an easy way to do that. What you do is you take your bag of lava rock, you sit it up vertically in your outside in your yard or on your driveway. You take a screwdriver, you stab the ever-loving hell out of the bottom half of the bag, and then you take a knife, you cut a small slit in the top, and then you run your hose through the top, and then you can wash all of it right inside the bag without having to fiddle with it and pull your hair out, and use strainers and all this shit.
Yeah.
And then,
that's awesome.
Yeah, just wash it right in the bag, and then once you can keep running it until it comes out clear at the bottom. It makes it super easy to know when you're done. And then once it's clean, you just take it, lift it up. Hopefully you didn't stab it so bad that you damage the integrity of the bag. But generally, you can just lift it up and then stick your finger in one of the holes that you made and just rip it open and dump it right in. And that seriously, it'll save you a few hours if you don't know about that little trick. Since Fish Ganja Guy is safely gone, the langbonite dosage is 41 grams per 100 gallons, and that
41
gives you about,
grams per 100. I'm writing it down.
And that's that gets you about 20 to 25% of what your target dosage would be for that. It is a little bit high on magnesium, but I mean high in magnesium, and then it's beyond the 20 or 25% I generally recommend for dosage of any one nutrient when using a nutrient blend. But in general, it's a pretty good starting dosage. You could dose that once and dose it the following week or the week after, and you're not going to overshoot.
How frequently should you dose?
So something like that, you would probably dose about once a week at least. Kind of dose it kind of look at, feel your plants out. See what they're doing and see what they need, and feed them accordingly. Or if you're in flower, you could boost that up a little bit. You could go up as high as 50 grams if you wanted to, especially if you're having a CalMag problem or running cocoa, because that will give you a little extra magnesium.
So 40 grams per 100 gallons to start, Steve?
Yep.
Cool, thank you.
It's a nice safe dosage where you won't kill anything or screw anything up.
Nice.
Kind of what I aim for is 20 to 25% of target. So if I say a nutrient, we'll just use potassium for an example. We'll use langbonite for example. Potassium, you want to aim for a minimum of 100 parts per million, especially in flower, for aquaponic cannabis in the water. So, that's what we're doing. So this is going to dose it so that your potassium is going to be at 20 parts per million potassium, 12 parts per million of magnesium, and 24 parts per million of sulfate when that dissolves into the water.
Wow. Okay, so you're saying you only add if it's required to be 100 parts per million with everything it needs. You never add more in an aquaponic system than 25% of that base requirement.
In the aquatic layer, exactly. In the aquatic layer is what I'm referring to. That's separate from what I would dose for the soil. If you're going to make a tea, that would be a good low end. You could go up to 50 to 55 grams if you're going to dose for like a bloom booster tea or something like that for your soil layer. You could definitely go a little bit higher. If you're mixing like a 55-gallon batch of compost tea, which is what we do here. We just use a big trash can, so 40 or 50-gallon trash can, and we just brew it up. In fact, there's a video of a different farm that I did a couple months ago, I think in August or September or something, where I did a compost tea video about that.
I think I want to watch that. That's in your channel?
Yep, it's on my channel, Ponics.
What number?
It's not like an episode of the podcast. It's under the how-to playlist.
Okay.
On my channel. And I'm going to be doing a how to germinate seeds here soon. It's one of the video series I'm working on right now. And then I'm going to have some cool veggie stuff coming up here, building a nice new system. Hopefully get started on that next week when I get back. I am teaching at Ouroboros this weekend. If anyone's looking to come take some aquaponic cannabis classes, we'll be teaching there, which is a lot of fun.
We want to get to some of these questions here.
Oh yeah, let's get to the chat questions. Do you want to make an announcement, Aquaponic Dumme?
Well, I'll do it after a couple of these questions here.
Okay, yeah, let me scroll up here. So we had where was it? Okay, what do you do if your fish get sick? Well, it kind of depends on what's wrong with your fish. The easiest thing to do is to quarantine them and put them into saltier water. As you can go, as high as 5 parts per PPT, parts per thousand salinity, and that can really help with helping your fish get over being sick for most species. If you have an ick outbreak in your system, get a heater for your system and crank the heat up about 8 to 10 degrees. That will burn out the ick parasite. It'll finish its life cycle before it has a chance for the eggs to finish developing. You can wipe it out that way. If you have a open wound on your fish, salt baths are definitely the way to go. Remove the fish. Take about a pound of aquarium salt, put that in a 5-gallon bucket, mix it up with water, and you can scale it up or down. And then use that. Take your fish, catch him, put him in that 5-gallon bucket of salt water for about a minute to a minute and a half, and then put him back in the tank. And that's great for fungal infections. It's good for external parasites, flukes, anchor worm, fish fleas, anything like that. It does really good for it. If they have a bad infection, a nasty wound, they got attacked by another fish, they got sucked under the side of the pump. The salt baths also work because it kills the bacteria or fungus that's growing on the wound, and that can help a lot. And then it looks like you had another question here from Jose, who asks fish versus crustaceans, pros, cons. Crustaceans can definitely be much trickier. If you're doing cannabis, I really wouldn't recommend them. They're more for vegetable growing because they are much more sensitive. If you happen to OD, your potassium too high, not potassium, your phosphorus too high, you can kill them. And there's a couple of other things. They're just much trickier. They also require a minimum alkalinity level and a minimum calcium level, or they will lose their fertility and potentially die depending on how severe it is. So they can be a much harder learning curve and much trickier. Fish is going to be much easier and more predictable waste output. Yeah, so I think that's the questions we have in chat. Does anybody else have any questions on the podcast? Do you have any questions, Roger, about aquaponic growing, or have you seen anyone posting anything? You go on a lot of different forums and stuff.
I usually send a message to Aquaponic Dumme and say, "Hey, we got somebody asking questions about aquaponic." That's it, John. I don't see a lot of it, and I kind of asked a lot of questions about aquaponics like that, to understand to clarify what you were talking about, like in relation to the grow bed and all. So basically, I could pretty much run the same kind of bed, like an ebb and flow, just like you would for aquaponics. Yep. You're going to be using the fish poop. So. Yep.
Just make sure you don't flood that water up to the soil layer. You're not trying to make that wick. You're trying to water that separately. So you have kind of 2 nutrient zones. You have the aquatic and the soil layer, and you can adjust them differently to make sure you're getting maximum input without getting too much nutrients in the water for the fish.
Well, I'll get some links to the videos that show what you're talking about, so I truly understand it later on.
Sure.
Yeah. I've been very much enjoying it. I think I've learned a lot tonight. I get to learn a lot every day.
There's a good question. ECSD. We're actually. I hung out with the Mammoth P guys when we were at the Cup. We're gonna have Mammoth P on the show. I actually have no idea what the answer to the question is. ECSD asks, Mammoth P, how long does it stay in the system? That is a question I do not know, but I will tell you that we're going to have Mammoth P on in the next month, and when we do, you guys will, I can't wait to get some of the really awesome questions answered that I have, and some of the questions you guys have that we have banked up. Whenever somebody asks us a question we don't know, Marty and I have a Excel sheet that we share and stuff like that, and we also use it for, if we want to cover a topic or if we have data that we want to cover or whatever, we can kind of all be on the same page before the show or work on it over the week and all that. So we have a couple different questions that people have asked that we just don't have answers for that I don't. So when we get them on the show, we'll get that answered for you.
Okay. Well, I have a giveaway. I'm giving away a 3-part Fox Farm, or the Fox Farm Trio 6-ounce Chachi and Open Sesame. One of the viewers.
I'm pretty much, I mean, biochar in general, absolutely.
What is that?
Yeah, that was there we go. Brian Goes had some feedback. I got him muted. There we go. Go ahead again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. What are you giving away?
Open Sesame, Beastie Bloom, and Cha-Ching for, well, it's a 3-part 6-ounce little bottles.
Awesome.
To one of the viewers. So I don't know how you want to.
Yeah, if you're in chat watching live right now, type in chat and say something in chat, and then we'll let Aquaponic Dumme pick someone from chat. Try to support the live viewers.
Additives. It's a set of additives from Fox Farm.
Yep.
Not basic nutrients, it's additives.
The Beastie Bloom is good. The Open Sesame is also good. Both of them can be used in aquaponics. Just don't use the Cha-Ching. The Cha-Ching you could use if you didn't have fish in the system yet, but it is pretty high in nitrogen, and you would be double stacking your nitrogen, which is going to make your buds a little smaller, and you don't want to do that. So.
Well, I have a question because of what you said.
Sure.
All right, since you can say, well, now you could use that additive, but would you use any of the Fox Farm base nutrients in the aquaponic system?
I'd have to look at the ingredients list.
Okay. Okay. So it's actually the fact it is an additive and it's slanted towards one mineral or another that allows you to use it. And would you use it at 25% of the suggested dosage to get to your 25% rule, or how would you do?
So that 25% rule is just when I'm doing my own powder nutrients. But yes, you would always want to, go with maybe a quarter dosage or half dosage with aquaponics, because in soil they assume that you're occasionally going to water it through and flush it, or some level of flow through.
Right.
Or same thing with cocoa, and in hydro you're dumping your res, so you will have a salt buildup. So this is why in aquaponics we don't ever do that. We're working on low nutrient levels, high microbe levels, and just cranking in just what the plant needs. So again, if anyone's in chat and you're interested in entering for that, say something in chat right now, and we'll pick a name for in a minute or two. So,
can't even give something away.
Yeah. ECSD is like me. But yeah, so like another thing that would be like a big no-no for aquaponic system is yucca extract, or sometimes on labels it's listed as saponins if it's not listed as yucca extract. That is extremely lethal to fish, but pretty harmless to soil microbes and perfectly okay to use in a hydroponic system. But it will kill all of your fish at like 0.5 or 1 parts per million or even less. So you definitely don't want to use that if you have fish in the system. The the different Indians in California used to collect the yucca, and then they'd press it with a big rock, squeeze the juice out, and they collect that, and they put it in these clay vessels, and they let it evaporate down and make kind of a concentrate out of it, and then they would dump that into a river and then watch all the fish come up to the surface and then collect the dead fish. So I mean, this is in like a huge river, so to give you an idea of like how low of a dosage you need to kill fish in a large body of water. So wow. That's so there's different, it's not just, and I'm just using it as an example, there's a handful of plant additives and organic additives or something. Neem cake is also not okay for fish. neem oil, you have to be extremely careful when using it. You really need to use something like Azamax or Azatrol or something like that. That's more of a refined product rather than definitely don't use cold pressed neem oil in your aquaponic system. That'll again also kill your fish pretty quickly.
That's good for somebody like me to know. So if I come across that on the regular forum from somebody, I'll know that. I don't like neem oil much anyway, so definitely not good in aquaponic systems. No neem oil.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You kind of have to. It's can be a little trickier, but yeah, it's definitely worth it, and it's fun, especially if you're used to working in the, with plants and fish and microbes and all. It's kind of neat to see how one little change, especially something like dosing molasses or vodka or spirulina or labs, can have an enormous impact on a system, much different than it would in a hydro or soil in terms of how quickly it responds. It's kind of neat, and the speed of growth in veg and aquaponics. I've never seen cannabis plants grow as fast as they do in veg in an aquaponic system, like hands down. In soil, hydro, you name it. And I don't know, you guys. I know Aquaponic Dumme and some of the other guys here have grown other methods. Would you guys agree with that, or?
Yeah, I would say aquaponics is is probably the best or fastest method I've grown in. I mean, well, hydro is a close second, but I don't know. I'd still lean towards aquaponics.
Yeah, especially in veg. During flower, they're all pretty similar. At least in my experience, slightly faster in aquaponics in some strains, like 5 days faster, but I've never seen anything more than that. Have you had any difference in flowering times, or?
Well, okay. Well, it really depends on, because I've vegged for so long. The other thing is,
yeah,
I veg and flower in the same nutrients throughout. I use flowering nutrients through the whole grow, so I know that affects my veg and flower, and I try to get a nice medium between the two. And I know a lot of aquaponic guys will, adjust their nutrients to what they're, what stage, what life cycle the plant's in, but I don't. I just go with flowering nutrients throughout. But yeah, I would say it's. I guess I would say it slows down a little bit in flower, but I don't know. I'd still lean towards aquaponics growing a little faster, or maybe hydroponics as far as flowering. Maybe that would grow a little faster than aquaponics, but
yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Alrighty, it looks like, does anybody else want to enter into the contest here? Is like kind of the last call if you want to enter in to win the nutrients. If not, I think we're gonna give it to ECSD.
Hey, he's been noticed. What do you know?
Yeah.
All right, so ECSD, just either contact me or Steve after the show on Facebook or the Growing with Fishies.
I have his email. If you just shoot me an email, I'll forward you his, and y'all can work it out.
Cool.
Yeah, he was on the show for a little bit last episode or the episode before. Hey, no kids on the show.
You're not.
It's like the little yellow fish pops up for the children.
Right? Alrighty, well, does anybody else have anything else they wanted to go over before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I would actually.
Sure.
I made a YouTube channel while on the podcast tonight. It's called Coyote Grows. I'm going to start posting some stuff on there.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. Cool.
Send me a message on Facebook or email, and I'll add it to the description.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, send me a message on YouTube, because I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, I'll reach out to all the AP channels.
Cool.
All right, guys, I got to wrap it up. I got the little one.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, guys. I had a blast.
Take care. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Does anybody else have anything else? If not, I think we're going to wind it down. This is definitely, I think, the longest episode we've ever done, but it's good because it was a holiday. I feel like we had a lot of amazing guests. We had, Yo Ryder talking about cancer and cancer treatment with cannabis. We had some veterans. We had a bunch of really good grow talk today. It's a shame that Marty was having technical issues and stuff like that, but we'll hopefully get him on the show again next week. And thanks again to all the people that joined us today. Definitely check out my description. I'll try to make sure I get everyone's channels in the description for this. And we have a running list on the Aquaponic Cannabis Growers group of YouTube channels. I'm trying to keep it updated. If you're not on that list and you're an Aquaponic Cannabis channel, be sure to post up in there, and then I'll make sure I added you to the sticky, just to make sure we're promoting everyone that's kind of pushing this, pushing this grow method, and making sure people can find other people that have run into their problem or need advice or questions and things like that as a way to network. Check me out at potentponics.com. You guys can email me at potentponics@gmail.com if you have a question. What else? Marty's channel is AP Meds. He has his Patreon. Definitely check him out. I forget the name of the Patreon, but he's pretty easy enough to find. Thanks again to Aquaponic Dumme. You have a YouTube channel, yes?
Yes, Aquaponic Dumme. I think that's the name, Aquaponic Dumme. You can just search YouTube for Aquaponic Dumme. You'll find me.
Now, did you used to be Aquaponic Cannabis, or is that some other guy?
Well, there's another guy that's, I think I'm Cannabis, or Aquaponics with an S, Cannabis.
Oh, okay, and he's Aquaponic. Okay.
So I know he's from Boston. He's a cool guy too. He's from Boston. He's just not me, So.
Yeah. I was always curious if those two were the same. Just like maybe one got banned or something. I don't know. There's all kinds of weird shit with Facebook and YouTube and stupid naming shit. So.
Aquaponic Dumme had to fight for 3 months to get his Aquaponic Dumme name back on Facebook.
Dude, the account that has Potent Ponics Facebook is like locked because the name is Potent Ponics on the name, like first name, last name. And they like refuse to release it, so I have like no access to my business page for Aquaponics now because that's the admin account for it. So I've been like frustratingly trying to get them to like turn it over to my other account, and it's fucking annoying. So
they told me I had to use the name I use every day, what my friends call me, and all my friends call me Dummy. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, right.
So they needed because Aquaponic Dumme, it's I get deliveries and stuff under Aquaponic Dumme, so I use that for my between that and the fact that I made myself a discount card with a store. With it has to have your birth date and your name on it, and then you have to have another something else with your address and your name, right? Two verifications of Facebook. That's how I ended up getting it back. So yeah.
We'll have to do that then, I guess.
Yeah, it was crazy. For no reason, too. It just was gone one day. LaBelle, probably just like yours. Yeah, same thing.
Somebody just annoyingly, reporting you because they're pissed off or whatever, or want to be a troll.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you guys want to share with me, I just wanted to share with you that I recently opened up a Roger Latewood channel on YouTube so that I could make my videos for that rain gutter grow system open forum that I'm doing. So if you guys want to share all your stuff, if you want to look me up, I believe it's there. I'm thinking off the top of my head, it's been a few days since I was there, but I did it so I could upload things, videos to Facebook, because it seemed like Facebook could never upload my videos. It would hang up and I'd waste an hour and then it would break. So I finally went to YouTube and it just shares it right there. So it's done. So I have a video channel and maybe I'll try to do some kind of small aquaponics rain gutter system this year. Maybe.
There you go.
It shouldn't take that, maybe a 55-gallon drum or something. And I've got a 500-gallon too. I got a 500-gallon reservoir doing nothing.
What is the other
fish tank? They are 12 foot by 12 foot swimming pool. That's exciting.
Yeah, but that's going to be, now that I talk to you guys, I would love to do that because I've got the infrastructure to build in the greenhouse to build over it. So I could keep my fish shaded and all that stuff, in the day, but, and keep it pretty cool for them. And compared to 110 outside. But the size grow system that you guys say I could do off of that, I don't have the money to build that. So I'm thinking smaller pool.
Well, you don't have to build it that big. That's just what that size fish tank would support is all.
Yeah, and then I could sell fish. That'd be one way of, like you said, keeping it like, having so many fish, not having so many, or like how much you restock is what I guess. But no, I think actually I've got containers. What you think you have a decent system if you use a 500-gallon res?
Oh yeah.
That's what I've got one. I don't have to spend any money.
There you go.
I got a round, nice with a dome on the top. 500-gallon poly, white poly, similar to the tote.
Well, that's even better with the lid on it.
Yeah, I could screw a lid on it. Yeah. Yes, thank you. So, well, I'll share with you guys, and you guys can guide me. I've always bugged Aquaponic Dumme, and I talk all the time and share all this. He's really taught me a lot. Yeah, shared a meter. He gave me a meter that I didn't realize you could. Well, I guess I did, but you never think about buying meters to measure each individual mineral. And that's something that I learned from him that's really intriguing. And I don't think people
you can balance your system so much better, and you can spend way less money in nutrients because you can just dose on what you need at the time. Although certain different nutrients are more expensive or difficult to test for, but if you really, really want to get into it and really understand it, Hanna checkers, Hanna and Lamotte make really good, test equipment for all different kinds of stuff. Nutrients across the board.
Yeah, so that's something most people have no clue about, that they could buy something and actually, like you were talking earlier about how much potassium or how much this or that to put in, and then the whole time I'm thinking about those meters that measure just potassium or just iron. In fact, that's what you sent me, because I said it's 3 parts per million of iron I add to my reservoir, and now that I'm using liquid, it's I literally figured it out by working it out by making the mix without the iron, and adding it till I got it up. And then Aquaponic Dumme sent me the meter that just measures iron, and I said, now that makes my life so easy when you're mixing 300 gallons and you only need 3 parts per million of iron. So yeah, it's pretty neat. I love the way you guys had it dialed in. See, for a long time. How long you been doing this?
I've been doing aquaponics specifically, one form or another, for, I don't know, 16 years if you count river tanks and reptile tanks that had integrated, circulating water systems to feed the orchids and stuff. But food production-wise, about 6 or 7 years, and then cannabis for the last 5.
And when of you were sharing it like internationally?
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, like for the last 5 years since you started doing cannabis, you started posting on YouTube and Facebook?
Oh, yeah. I used to work for the Aquaponic Source. I ran their research and development and was the head of their cannabis program and all that stuff. So.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't know that. Well that's pretty cool.
then they changed owners, and I went a different direction. And
that's why I left cannabis.com. Yeah, way back in the day, because it changed owners.
Yeah, so is there other websites you'd like to plug since we're going to wrap things up?
Oh, if you don't mind. Dumme, my online store that we're going to try to, we're going to give you, we've got an online store we're opening up called ilovegrowingsupplies.com. And we're going to have a live professional grow chat there. With, like I mentioned earlier on the podcast, where we're going to have a department, especially for you veterans out there. And we want to give you some place to have support, talk to somebody that's been there, because that's the only way they can get support. They have to, it's not always they can help you, but they're much more, veterans, that disabled and PTSD veterans are much more comfortable talking to other men that have been there or women that have been there. somebody that's been there, and we want to provide that. So that's about the only plug. And if you just want good all around cannabis advice, come visit me or Dumme at ILoveGrowingMarijuana.com. Buy some great genetics. I'm sure Robert will love this. We let him listen to this. But I appreciate you letting us plug. Thank you very much. You're too
Absolutely.
kind, Mr. Steve.
Yeah, we'll get you on the show again here soon. Brian Grow, do you want to plug your channel? I think you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Definitely check me out, Brain Grow, BRAYNEGRO, at Instagram and YouTube, both the same name. And just look for me under channels or whatever, and you'll see my channel. I guess just kind of match it up with the little picture you see here, the thumbnail, and that's me. Again, like I said, I'm working on this new aquaponic system, so follow along if you're interested in that. But other than that, that's about it.
Awesome. And if anyone's interested in taking in-person classes, you guys can. I teach multiple different classes at Ouroboros. I actually have a cannabis class coming up this weekend. So if you're in California or in San Francisco area, definitely come out and take the class this weekend at Ouroboros. Saturday and Sunday. We generally find somewhere nearby after Saturday to go hang out and have a little session. There's a nice little private venue where we can do that at afterwards. It's a lot of fun. I think there's a film crew that's going to be there doing a piece on us this week or this time, and it's going to be really awesome. We're going to get a chance to see Ken's new fancy testing equipment for nutrients and all kinds of cool stuff. So we'll have all different kinds of cool stuff for you guys, and appreciate you everyone joining. Shout out real quick to True Aquaponics. Roger tried to join us today for the show. His microphone decided to crap out on him about 30 seconds after joining the podcast, and he could not get that to work. That was part of the train wreck of equipment we had today. So, and thanks again to Yo Rider for coming on earlier too. I know he had technical problems and couldn't come back. So, thanks again for everyone and everyone's patience. Look forward to seeing y'all again. Take care, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for a great evening. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. Made my night.
Yep. Happy 420.
Happy 420.
Happy 420.
Cheers.